Villain. I really don't want to be a scumbag. Chapter 31 Secret Room, Seize the Opportunity. Baijian Sect. On the main peak, Qin Haitian was lying on a chair watching Lu Ruoxian practicing sword. Although he would watch every time Lu Ruoxian practiced sword, he still felt that Lu Ruoxian's sword practicing posture was very graceful. Old Qin, this 100 flowers sword technique is too profound. Can you give me some pointers? Every time I practice to this point, I feel like something is missing. Lu Ruoxian stopped practicing sword and said angrily. Qin Haitian knew that Lu Ruoxian had reached a bottleneck. The 100 flowers sword technique is a heavenly sword technique and can be divided into several levels: entry level, minor success, major success, and perfection. Lu Ruoxian is currently between the entry level and minor success level. Once you break through this limit, you will reach the level of minor success. Once you have mastered the 100 flowers sword technique to the level of minor success, challenging higher level opponents will become extremely easy. Because of Xiaocheng's 100 flowers sword technique, the power is greatly increased. The higher the realm, the greater the power bonus. Okay. Qin Haitian nodded and got up from the recliner. Although he seldom practiced sword, his woman practiced sword every day to increase his experience points. In addition, his predecessor had some insights about the 100 flowers sword technique. Although he had not yet fully understood it, his theoretical knowledge was much better than Lu Ruoxian. So he took out a long sword and began to teach Lu Ruoxian some insights into the 100 flowers sword technique, which direction she should work towards, and so on. After hearing Qin Haitian's explanation, Lu Ruoxian frowned at first, but as time went on, she tried according to the direction pointed out by Qin Haitian, and unknowingly, the power of the 100 flowers sword technique suddenly exploded. Qin Haitian looked at the 100 flowers sword technique experience on his system and found that it had increased again. He also gained more enlightenment in his mind and immediately realized that Lu Ruoxian's 100 flowers sword technique level had improved. Suddenly, Qin Haitian's eyes flashed. What's wrong? Lu Ruoxian, who was delighted by the breakthrough in 100 flowers sword technique, noticed that Qin Haitian's expression was not right and asked curiously. Qin Haitian did not answer Lu Ruoxian, but walked straight towards the rockery. Old Qin, what did you discover? Lu Ruoxian asked curiously. Qin Haitian walked to the rockery, and Lu Ruoxian followed him with a sword in hand, her face full of suspicion. See this bulge? Qin Haitian said, pointing to a bulge on the stone. I saw it. Is there anything wrong with it? Lu Ruoxian asked in surprise. This bulge is not congenital. Qin Haitian explained, then pressed his finger down on the bulge. He accidentally took a look just now and found that there was a gap between the bulge and the surrounding area. Lu Ruoxian was still wondering if the baby was not born naturally or acquired later in life, when she heard a rumbling sound, as if the sound of a door opening. Of course, the sound was not very loud, but since they were both at the rockery, they could naturally feel it more obviously. Is there a secret room here? Lu Ruoxian said in surprise. Yeah. Qin Haitian nodded, then took Lu Ruoxian to the back of the rockery, where a 1-meter-high portal came into view. Who built this secret room? Lu Ruoxian asked, tilting her head and looking at Qin Haitian. I don't know either. It should be a former leader of the Baijian sect. Qin Haitian recalled the memories of his previous life and found no information about this secret room, so he shook his head. The Baijian sect has been passed down for thousands of years, and he is the 99th sect master. Oh, then go in and take a look. Lu Ruoxian said. Seeing Lu Ruoxian's excited face, he did not ask to go in with them. Qin Haitian smiled and said, let's go in and take a look together. Is it inappropriate for me to go in? Lu Ruoxian pursed her lips. Let's go, you are my woman, I will give you any good things. Qin Haitian stroked her hair and said with a smile, adding the word, you guys, in his heart. Just like the 100 flowers magic art and 100 flowers sword technique, they were later passed on to Lang Qingshuang. Lang Qingshuang was extremely happy at that time. This is also the reason why Lang Qingshuang's favorability level broke through to 90 points so quickly. After all, many couples might become enemies for some treasures, and Qin Haitian was so good to her. She already had special feelings for Qin Haitian. Being treated like this by Qin Haitian, she naturally felt Qin Haitian's kindness even more. Lu Ruoxian put her arm around Qin Haitian's arm and walked down the stairs. The secret room was very large. Both of them have reached the 5th level of Foundation Establishment Realm. Although they cannot see the night as if it were day, they are still able to see nothing in the darkness. Qin Haitian pressed a button on the wall. Buzz. The formation is activated. Then, the dark secret room became as bright as day. There are so many inscriptions here, Lu Ruoxian said in surprise. Well, the person who built this secret room should be a formation master. Qin Haitian analyzed, because formation masters are good at engraving inscriptions and secret patterns. The two looked around and walked towards the depths. Ah, Lu Ruoxian exclaimed suddenly. What's wrong? Qin Haitian asked with a slightly changed expression. Look, the altar, the skeleton, Lu Ruoxian said, pointing at the altar in front. Qin Haitian then saw the altar, which looked extremely eerie and strange. There was a skeleton on the altar. There seems to be no signs of a fight, and the storage ring is still there. This man should have died while sitting. Qin Haitian looked at the skeleton's arm, which was intact, and took out a storage ring from under the dry bones. Well, did he die by sitting in meditation? Lu Ruoxian seemed to be thinking about something. It was said that the minimum requirement to become the leader of the 100 Swords sect was to break through to the Star Sea realm, and the lifespan of a cultivator in the Star Sea realm was 200 years. No one knew how many years had passed, and the remaining spiritual mark on the storage ring had become very weak. Qin Haitian broke the mark on the storage ring with a slight impact. His spiritual sense probed into it, and Qin Haitian could see all the treasures in the storage ring. This person has a lot of treasures. Qin Haitian's eyes lit up. He had previously speculated that the other party should be an array master, as he was able to build such a large secret chamber array space underground in the main peak. The treasures in the storage ring could also confirm this. There were quite a few materials for setting up the array and array secrets. Of course, in addition to these, there are other treasures, the most indispensable of which are a lot of spirit stones. There are tens of thousands of low-grade spirit stones, more than a dozen medium-grade spirit stones, and even 2 rare high-grade spirit stones. The value of 10,000 low-grade spirit stones is approximately equal to that of 10,000 medium-grade spirit stones, and 1 high-grade spirit stone is equal to 100 million low-grade spirit stones. In addition to spirit stones, there are also some valuable treasures such as Earth-level swordsmanship secrets, Earth-level cultivation techniques, etc. The treasures are even richer than those of his predecessor. Of course, the value is not as high as that of his predecessor because this guy does not have any heavenly-level treasures, such as heavenly-level swordsmanship or heavenly-level cultivation techniques. At this time, Qin Haitian suddenly remembered something. That was when his adopted son Qin Mo flew to the main peak a few days ago. He wanted to teach him how to practice swordsmanship. If I had guided him at the beginning, perhaps it would be that adopted son who discovered the secret room in the rockery. With his deep-seated affection for himself, it was obvious that those treasures would become an opportunity for his rise. Really, the system prompt appeared. Ding tilde tilde tilde, seize the opportunity that should have belonged to Qin Mofei and gain 15,000 points of luck. Whether a person can grow up depends not on one opportunity, but on the accumulation of multiple opportunities. If you miss one opportunity, many subsequent opportunities may be lost. I wonder if there is any chance to seize Yang Shan's opportunity. Qin Haitian whispered to himself. He thought of Yang Shan at this time. When they met a few days ago, he found out that the other party's opportunity was in the Fengyan City auction house. If I rush over now, I don't know if I will be in time. Chapter 32, Jade Cloud Sword Shu Mengjiao. Then, Qin Haitian and Lu Ruoxian looked around the secret room again, but they didn't find any other treasures. After coming out of the secret room, Qin Haitian closed the secret room again. Old Qin, let's set off today, Lu Ruoxian said to Qin Haitian. Then let's set off after lunch. Qin Haitian nodded. Yeah, Lu Ruoxian nodded repeatedly. Nanhe Kingdom, Fengyan City. Today, a relatively large-scale auction is taking place at Fengyan Auction House. 2 poor guys, Qin Mofei and Yang Shan, were also attending the auction at this time. In a private room, when Yang Shan saw through the window of one of the auction items that looked like a piece of metal and was black in color, his heart suddenly rose, and then he calmly bought this special metal at a lower price. Why are you taking pictures of such a dark thing? Qin Mofei said with disdain. It's just a random shot, maybe it's a treasure. Yang Shan shrugged and said, his heart was excited. This metal fragment looks like the same piece as the one I got before, if the two are put together. How can everything be a treasure? Qin Mofei sneered and thought to himself, he is really from a small place, has never seen the world, and is always fantasizing. Yang Shan secretly sneered, good things come from the people, what a fool. But he couldn't possibly tell the secret of this special metal just for the sake of anger, otherwise he would become a fool. He should just enjoy this good thing secretly. Huh, Qin Mofei's brows suddenly frowned. What's wrong? Seeing that Qin Mofei's expression was not right, Yangshan thought that the other party had discovered something, and his heart was lifted. I don't know why, but I suddenly felt dazed, as if I had lost something precious. Qin Mofei said in a low voice. Will there be any changes in our plan this time? Yangshan's heart tightened and he said worriedly. This kind of situation happened to him frequently some time ago. Facts have proved that his intuition was correct. The women he liked were all stolen away by Qin Haitian. It shouldn't be the case. The helpers I found are sure to win even if they deal with him in his prime, let alone when he is half crippled. Qin Mofei took a deep breath and said seriously. Yeah, Yangshan nodded, and felt a little relieved, although he didn't know who the helpers Qin Mofei was looking for were. The other party should be one of the people who knew Qin Haitian best. So, he should be sure to win, so he finally put his mind at ease. A few hours later, the auction ended and Yangshan paid the fees for the auction of his treasures. Then the two chose to separate. Qin Mofei said that he was going to meet someone, while Yangshan returned to his home with excitement. After returning to his room, Yangshan closed the door, took out the two pieces of metal fragments with an excited look on his face, and then connected them together. Then, two palm-sized pieces of metal fragments came together, and inscriptions began to flash. Then, the two pieces of metal fragments began to merge together. Yangshan was inexplicably excited by this. His guess turned out to be correct. Then Yangshan probed his spiritual sense into it. Qin Haitian had tried countless times before, but because the metal fragments were incomplete, he could not find any secrets. But this time, after putting the two pieces of metal together, he tried again and immediately found that there was a secret technique hidden inside. Moreover, it is a spiritual level secret technique called Blood Shadow Escape Technique. Many Daotai realm cultivators do not have heavenly level secret manuals. At the time, the Baihua sect, the #1 sect in Qingzhou, only had a set of heavenly level Baihua magic skills and Baihua swordsmanship. However, the level of spiritual level secret books is above that of heaven level secret books. If this were to get out, not to mention the beings in the Daotai realm, even those in Zhongzhou who are beyond the Daotai realm would rush over madly to hunt him down. Spiritual level secret technique, Blood Shadow Escape Technique. Yangshan was so excited that he could hardly control himself. With this Blood Shadow Escape Technique, his ability to escape would be improved countless times. This was his chance, a huge chance. So, the plan to kill Qin Haitian will go smoothly. Otherwise, how could God let me get such an opportunity? After getting this great opportunity, Yangshan was in a very good mood. Let me explain this on two sides. After Qin Mofei and Yangshan separated, they came to a restaurant with better business, to a private room on the second floor facing the street. Qin Mofei came here. Senior, are you here alone? Qin Mofei said, looking at the leader of the Moyu sect in front of him. Of course not, the Demon Moon sect master said calmly, your plan is actually very unreliable. Let's not talk about whether Qin Haitian will come with you. Even if he comes, will he come alone? What should we do? Qin Mofei was stunned. The plan he had discussed with Yangshan before was to let Yangshan make up a reason and find a way to trick Lu Ruoxian out of Baijian sect, and Qin Haitian might follow her to Fengyan City. By then, they had set up traps in advance and surrounded and killed Qin Haitian. Although it is unreliable, my informant told me one thing. Qin Haitian and a few others just left Baijian sect, and it seems that they are heading to Fengyu City. This is why I brought people here, because this is indeed a good opportunity to kill Qin Haitian. Said the leader of Moyue sect. Qin Hai is only 56 years old, but he is already nearly invincible below the Daotai realm. Once he recovers from his injuries, he may reach a higher level. There is a high probability that he will break through to the Daotai realm before he turns 60. With his powerful 100 Flowers sword skill, he will become a huge obstacle for his Demon Moon sect to unify Qingzhou. On the way, Yangshan told me that Lu Ruoxian is a homesick person and has wanted to come back for a long time. Qin Haitian and Lu Ruoxian are in a passionate relationship, so there is no way he would let her go home alone. Qin Mofei said, gritting his teeth. When he thought of the woman he loved being submissive to Qin Haitian, he felt so heartbroken that he couldn't breathe. Suddenly, Qin Mofei saw a figure on the street outside the window. His eyes narrowed slightly and he exclaimed in a low voice, "Second sister." Fortunately, there was a soundproofing formation in the box, otherwise his voice would have been heard. The leader of the Demon Moon sect also noticed two figures riding horses on the street. they were a pair of men and women. The man was handsome and elegant, while the woman was wearing a white fox fur coat, with a gorgeous temperament and beautiful appearance. Huang Wanchen wields the fire evil blade, and Xu Mengjiao wields the green cloud sword. The leader of the Mo Yu sect also whispered the names of the two. Chapter 33 Qingzhou Genius List. Qingzhou has a genius list. It lists the young talents under the age of 30 in Qingzhou. On this list, Huang Wanchen and Xu Mengjiao are both top talents ranking in the top 10 of the list. Now they are less than 30 years old and have already reached the peak of the 10th level of Tongshuan realm. His combat capability is even stronger than some older generation Tongshuan realm 10th level peak powerhouses. Of course, those who are over 30 years old, or whose cultivation has broken through to the Star Sea realm, will be removed from the genius list. The former is easy to say, and the latter can actually be considered a genius, but has already gone beyond the category of genius and can be called a strong person. Is my second sister also adopted? Qin Mofei looked at the leader of the Mo Yu sect and asked anxiously. The leader of the Demon Moon sect didn't know how to respond after hearing this. Based on the many clues they knew, for example, he knew the secrets of the 100 Flowers divine art, which was a practice suitable for women to practice. If a man wanted to practice it, he needed to castrate himself first. Qin Haitian should have castrated himself at the age of 18. If Qin Haitian castrated himself at the age of 18, then his 4 children must have been adopted. But he couldn't say it, because once he said it, it would conflict with the story he made up to deceive Qin Mofei. Although Qin Mofei knew that he had lied to him, he might not betray him immediately, because the precious liquid he refined contained his original blood, and he was naturally obedient to his orders. But when he knew that Qin Haitian did not return his family, he would definitely resist him. This was inconsistent with his plan to use Qin Mofei to control the Baijian sect. He couldn't always follow Qin Mofei around. Without him by his side, he would probably break free from his mental suppression in no time, unless he used the enslavement technique. But once the enslavement technique was used, Qin Mofei would be useless, because the cultivation of an enslaved person would not advance at all, and he would be useless. I don't know either. The Demon Moon sect master said calmly, maybe she is not my biological daughter either. Otherwise, why is her last name Xu? Qin Mofei heard this and quietly watched Xu Mengjiao and Huang Wanchen disappear on horseback. A thought that he had never had before began to arise in his mind. His 2 sisters don't have the surname Qin. According to Qin Haitian's explanation, they both took their mother's surname. Now it seems that their situation is similar to his own. If I tell Xu Mengjiao, maybe they can unite against the common enemy. In the past, he had never thought of Xu Mengjiao, but if they were not related by blood, wouldn't it be possible? You know, Xu Mengjiao is also one of the fairies of the Baijian sect. When he thought of this, his heart became hot. Xu Mengjiao was one of the top beauties in Qingzhou. But suddenly he thought of the man next to Xu Mengjiao, Huang Wanchen, the fire evil blade. This guy was talented and elegant. He traveled around the world with Xu Mengjiao. Even if they had not become a couple yet, they might be together soon. How could he steal her away? Moreover, if she knew in the future that I killed Qin Haitian, would I still have any chance? At this moment, Qin Mofei was extremely confused. The leader of the Demon Moon sect frowned and looked at Qin Mofei. What are you thinking about? You look confused. No, nothing. Qin Mofei shook his head. It would be too embarrassing if his thoughts were known. Even if you have the idea of becoming a Taoist partner with Xu Mengjiao, I hope you will give it up for the time being and don't forget the most urgent matter. The leader of the Mo Yu sect looked at Qin Mofei deeply, with a hint of amusement on the corner of his mouth, and said lightly. I didn't. Qin Mofei's face turned red and he retorted. The leader of the Mo Yu sect was too lazy to pay attention to Qin Mofei's little thoughts. As long as it didn't ruin his big plan, he didn't care about anything else. However, it must be said that Xu Mengjiao was indeed a charming woman, and perhaps also a top-level cauldron. The leader of the Demon Moon sect explained the details of the plan. Qin Mofei listened carefully, his eyes gradually brightened, and he couldn't help but sigh in his heart that the leader of the Mo Yu sect was indeed an experienced person, and his plan was really meticulous enough. Once Qin Haitian fell into the trap, he would definitely die. In comparison, their previous schemes were somewhat childish. As the sun was blazing in the sky, a flying boat flew away from the 100 Sword sect. There were 4 people sitting on the flying boat, 1 man and 3 women. They were Qin Haitian and his 3 women. Originally, Qin Haitian planned to bring some elders with him, but after convincing Shui Hongluan, he decided not to bring other troublesome people with him. Shui Hongluan was enough to solve the general troubles. After all, now, after taking the Star Spirit Pill, her cultivation has reached the 8th level of the Star Sea Realm. If Shui Hongluan can't solve it, he will do it himself. After all, he has 2-3 seconds real man pills. Not to mention the existence of the Star Sea Realm, even the existence of the ordinary Daotai realm can be killed by him. This is Qin Haitian's flying boat. The flying boat needs the energy of spirit stones to drive it. Of course, it can also be driven by magic power instead of spirit stones. The higher the cultivation level, the faster the flying speed will be when the formation in the flying boat is activated. There are some rooms in the flying boat that can be used for practice or rest. Qin Haitian was sitting on the deck of the flying boat drinking tea. As for his women, he urged them to practice. He didn't expect himself to be able to practice for a while, so he asked his women to practice with all their heart. It would be so tiring for him to practice himself. He also took out a lot of the treasures and cultivation resources he had obtained from the secret room and gave them to his 3 women. The reason he didn't give them all was not to keep them for himself, but to keep them for his future beauty. In the sect, all the female cultivators who were eligible for binding had been swept away by him. This was another important reason why Qin Haitian wanted to follow Lu Ruoxian out. This flying boat is a great means of transportation, just like riding an airplane. Qin Haitian said with emotion while leisurely drinking tea. Even if there is no one to drive this flying boat, its speed is comparable to that of airplanes in previous lives just by relying on power. In addition to the driving force formation, there is also a protective formation on the flying boat. Therefore, although the flying boat is flying very fast, Qin Haitian cannot feel any sharp wind while sitting on the deck. Chapter 34 makes a high-profile appearance. A day later, the flying boat arrived above Fengyan City. "Aren't you going through the city gate?" Lu Ruoxian asked. "Let's land directly at your house." Qin Haitian said. "Isn't it too high-profile?" Shui Hongluan said with a frown. "High-profile?" Qin Haitian smiled and said, "I don't think so. Besides, being high-profile will also let people know that the Lu family is protected by my Baijian sect. There is a saying that goes, if you don't return to your hometown when you are rich and powerful, it is like walking in the night in fine clothes. If you want your wife to come home and you are a little high-profile, it will also make Lu Ruoxian look good, right?" Moreover, he did not plan to be secretive when looking for women. This was different from his previous life. If he had too many women, he would be despised, laughed at, and might even be breaking the law. But it was different in this world. It was common for a powerful man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines, 7 companions and 8 mistresses. Okay then. Hearing Qin Haitian say this, Shui Hongluan rolled her eyes at Qin Haitian and didn't say anything else, because this stinky senior brother could always find excuses to sophistry. She said that before mainly because she thought that as the leader of a sect, it was too high profile and not in line with the status of the lord of Baijian sect. There was an excitement on Lu Ruoxian's face. How to say it? When she first started dating Qin Haitian, she was also worried about being gossiped about, but after more than a month of dating, she felt very relaxed and became more and more infatuated with Qin Haitian. How could she not be happy when her man wanted to make her look proud? That's a flying boat. Oh my god, such a big flying boat. Is this the magic weapon of the immortal? It is said that the flying magic weapon is at least of the upper grade spiritual weapon level. Such a flying boat that can fly and defend itself may even be a top-grade spiritual weapon. Once it is fully activated, even ordinary Daotai realm cultivators may not be able to catch up. In Fengyan City, the majority of practitioners have not yet embarked on the path of cultivation. Of course, there are also many practitioners who have initially entered the qi refining realm. As for cultivators in the foundation establishment stage, they are relatively rare. The Tongshuan realm was even rarer, and the Xinghai realm. None. In the Nanhe Kingdom, it is said that only the royal family has cultivators at the Star Sea realm. This is also the reason why the 100 Swords sect controls several countries, because even if several countries join forces, they are not as strong as the 100 Swords sect. A place in Fengyan City, Shumengjiao, the Jade Cloud Sword, and Huang Wanshan, the Fire Evil Sword, came to Fengyan City yesterday, but they rested for a day and had lunch. Then they prepared to leave Fengyan City and head to the 100 Swords sect. Shumengjiao has been wandering around the world for 2 or 3 years and is ready to return to her sect. The reason she returned to the sect, besides missing her master, was that she wanted to bring Huang Wanshan to see her master and see if her master seemed satisfied with Huang Wanshan. If so, she was prepared to become a Taoist partner with Huang Wanshan. Whose flying boat is this? Huang Wanshan, the fire evil blade, looked up at the flying boat that was landing in the distance with envy on his face, and said with a sigh, "Isn't this my master's flying boat?" Xu Mengjiao was stunned for a moment and said, "How could my master's top-grade spiritual weapon flying boat appear here? Is that our master's flying boat?" Huang Wanshan, the fire evil blade, had a look of surprise on his face. "What master? You are asking for a beating." Xu Meng gave Huang Wanshan a coquettish look and said, "I haven't agreed to be your Taoist partner yet. Isn't this a matter of time?" He. Huang Wanshan, the fire evil blade, chuckled. "You idiot, I'm telling you, if you can't satisfy my master, I will never become your Taoist partner." Xu Mengjiao scolded with a smile. "I am a top-level genius. Your master cannot be dissatisfied with me." Huang Wanshan looked at Xu Mengjiao's beautiful face and was moved. While talking, he couldn't help but want to grab Xu Mengjiao's hand, but Xu Mengjiao dodged him and glared at Huang Wanshan. She said angrily, "If you don't behave yourself, don't even think about me becoming your Taoist partner." "Junior sister Xu, I know I was wrong, don't be angry." Huang Wanshan said repeatedly. There was a fire of evil in his heart. Being with such a charming woman meant he was under mental test all the time. However, Xu Mengjiao had a strong personality, and he did not dare to use force. If he did, he was worried that Xu Mengjiao would develop a dislike for him. If that happened, all his years of planning would be in vain. You know, in order to get close to Xu Mengjiao, he had been a bootlicker for 3 years. He took meticulous care of Xu Mengjiao for the past 3 years, and finally moved her to be his Taoist partner. Of course, the prerequisite was that he had to satisfy her master. Seeing Huang Wanshan apologize, Xu Mengjiao's expression also eased a little, and she said lightly, "Okay, my master's flying boat appeared here, I want to go over and take a look, are you going?" "Go, of course you have to go. I also hope to get your master's recognition as soon as possible." Huang Wanshan said, patting his chest. If he could gain Qin Haitian's approval, he would have the opportunity to become Qin Haitian's disciple, thus strengthening their relationship. He would then be able to take the opportunity to obtain the 100 Flowers magic and 100 Flowers swordsmanship that Qin Haitian practiced. However, he did not know if he had any hope of learning them. You know, he did not even teach his female disciple this magic skill and this swordsmanship. "Let's go." After saying this, Xu Mengjiao rode her horse towards the direction where the flying boat was landing. Huang Wanshan also hurriedly urged his horse to catch up. Chapter 35 Kill him, he is the scholar with 100 faces. Lu family. The Lu family is actually a big family in Fengyan City, one of the 4 major families. The Lu family is known as a family of scholars because many of their members served as officials in the Nanhe Kingdom and produced several great poets. Of course, because of their fame in the literary world, people tend to overlook the Lu family. In fact, they also have certain achievements in martial arts. The Lu family has an elder in Nanhe country, who is a guerrilla general and has reached the Tongshuan realm. When Lu Ruoxian was a child, she liked writing poetry. Because women were not allowed to be officials, she later turned her focus to cultivating immortals and joined the Baijian sect last year. The Lu family's martial arts training ground is very large. There were some disciples of the Lu family fighting and sparring in the martial arts arena. Suddenly, all of them couldn't help but look up. This is a spiritual flying boat. Is this flying boat going to land at our house? Where did this big shot come from, and what is he doing in our house? At this moment, everyone in the martial arts arena said all kinds of things. Soon, the flying boat landed on the martial arts field, and then 4 figures flew down from the flying boat, 1 man and 3 women. The men were handsome, and the women were stunningly beautiful. One of the men urged the flying boat to start, and the next moment the flying boat shrank into a model-sized flying boat, which he collected with a flip of his hand. Sister Shonner, Sister Shonner, Miss. Everyone saw one of the figures, and then they couldn't help but shout out excitedly. Lu Ruoxian also smiled and greeted everyone. Sister Shonner, who are these people? One of the sisters who was familiar with Lu Ruoxian asked with a curious look on her face. These are my fellow Taoists. Lu Ruoxian pursed her lips and smiled. Where is my father? She was still embarrassed to say that these were her man and 2 sisters. Shonner is back. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked over with a smile on his face. This middle-aged man is none other than Lu Quan, the current patriarch of the Lu family. He is actually about the same age as Qin Haitian, both around 56 years old. Lu Ruoxian had told Qin Haitian about this before, but in comparison, Qin Haitian is much younger than the other. Qin Haitian now looks like he is just over 30 years old. The magic of joy can not only improve a woman's qualities, but it can also greatly improve and enhance her own flesh and blood, aging, and qualities. "Hello, father," Lu Ruoxian said respectfully with excitement on her face. "This must be the leader of the Baijian sect, right?" The middle-aged man looked at Qin Haitian with a respectful look on his face and asked with a smile. "Yes." Qin Haitian looked at the middle-aged man calmly. On the surface, this middle-aged man was only in the foundation establishment stage, which was consistent with the cultivation level that Lu Ruoxian told him. But for some reason, he always felt that this middle-aged man was a little weird, and a bad intuition arose in his heart. Thinking of this, he immediately activated the detector. Open black lens bracket. Name: Lu Beidao. Close black lens bracket. Age: 59. Cultivation: Star Sea Realm Level 1. Luck value: 3,000 points. Latest opportunity: none. In fact, Qin Haitian had used the detector many times when he was in the Baijian sect. The detector can detect anyone, but according to the standards of the detector, only when the luck value reaches 10,000 can one be considered a true son of luck. Once encountering such an existence, the detector will activate automatically. If the minimum standard of the son of luck is not reached, the detector will not activate automatically. This Lu Beidao has a relatively low luck value and cannot be considered a true son of luck, so the detector did not start automatically. However, Qin Haitian could use the detector to investigate and find out some simple information about him. "Greetings, master," said Lu Beidao. "You're welcome," Qin Haitian said calmly, but he was analyzing the situation very quickly in his mind. He already felt that something was wrong. Lu Ruoxian's father's name is Lu Quan, which Qin Haitian had asked about before. After all, it was also a respect for Lu Ruoxian. But now the detector told him that this guy's name was Lu Beidao. Lu Beidao, this name sounds familiar, and it seems that my previous life has some related memories of this person. Lu Ruoxian called him father and obviously didn't notice anything unusual. The most likely possibility was that this guy disguised himself to look like Lu Ruoxian's father, and it was so real that it was indistinguishable from the real thing. At least Lu Ruoxian didn't notice anything unusual. You know, it's very difficult to hide your disguise from people close to you. However, Lu Ruoxian has not seen her father for more than a year. As long as the flaws are not too big, it is normal that she cannot see it. After all, the people around her did not feel surprised or anything. Suddenly, a flash of lightning flashed through Qin Haitian's mind, and he remembered that Lu Beidao was an elder of the Demon Moon sect, known as the Hundred-Faced Scholar. It is said that this person can disguise himself as many people, and almost make them look real. His only shortcoming is that his combat power is not strong. All his skill points have been spent on disguise. "Shunner, come here and let your father take a good look at you," Lu Beidao said with a smile. "Yes, father." Lu Ruoxian was about to go to Lu Beidao with a red face, but at this moment, Qin Haitian grabbed her arm. "Huh?" Lu Ruoxian looked at her man in confusion. Actually, she was not feeling very comfortable in her heart, because Qin Haitian had said all kinds of sweet words to her before, saying that he would treat her family like his own family, but she felt that her man was a little too indifferent to her father. This made her feel wrong, and now he doesn't allow himself to get close to his father. "Hongluan, kill him quickly." The next moment, Qin Haitian, who held Lu Ruoxian, pointed at Lu Beidao and said to Shui Hongluan in a deep voice. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. "No, why did you want to kill my father?" Lu Ruoxian exclaimed and said angrily. She had never expected Qin Haitian to suddenly give such an order. Shui Hongluan was also stunned, so she didn't take any action immediately after hearing Qin Haitian's words. The next moment, Lu Beidao suddenly stepped back and said angrily, "Qin Haitian, my daughter is your woman, and you didn't respect me the first time you saw me, and you actually wanted to kill me." The other members of the Lu family also glared at Qin Haitian. It seemed as if at this moment, Qin Haitian had become an unforgivable evildoer. "Senior brother, you," Shui Hongluan looked at Qin Haitian in disbelief, simply unable to understand. Qin Haitian was only angry that his cultivation was not strong enough to transmit sound. If he reached the Tongshuan realm, he could actually transmit sound easily, but his current cultivation was only at the foundation building realm, and he could not do this at all. He is not Shauner's father, his name is Liu Beidao, and the Demon Moon sect has a 100-faced scholar. Qin Haitian shouted in a deep voice. What? He is the 100 Faces scholar. Isn't the 100 Faces scholar dead? Shui Hongluan exclaimed. Rumor has it that the scholar with 100 faces failed in his disguise and was killed. Of course, Shui Hongluan chose to believe what Qin Haitian said, because the speed at which the other party retreated just now was not what a foundation establishment cultivator should have. The scholar with 100 faces. Not my father. Lu Ruoxian was feeling sad. Upon hearing this, she stared blankly at the familiar figure not far away. She actually felt that something was a little wrong before. After hearing what Qin Haitian said, she looked at the other party again and found that the other party's appearance and behavior were very similar to her father, but not exactly the same. For example, the eyes. The way his father looks at him is always full of love. Although this person also looks at him with loving eyes, it is a little unnatural. After all, it is an imitation, not a real person, so how can he have true love for his father? There is also the cultivation level. The opponent's retreat just now was not so fast even for a cultivator in the Tongshuan realm. Chapter 36, Enough of laughing, then go to hell. Qin Haitian, you were able to recognize that I was in disguise, amazing. Liu Beidao, the scholar with 100 faces, looked at Qin Haitian and said, but you let Shui Hongluan take action instead of choosing to do it yourself, and you couldn't even send a message. It seems that your injuries are really serious. Hey, I just wanted to catch Lu Ruoxian to test you. Shui Hongluan was angry at herself for not trusting Qin Haitian. Otherwise, if she had taken action immediately after hearing what he said, the pale-faced scholar Liu Beidao would not have been able to escape at all. But it's too late now. Because a series of figures suddenly appeared around, 7 or 8 people in total. The leader was none other than Bai Shangfang, the leader of the Demon Moon sect. Bai Shangfang, you are the leader of a sect, but you set up such a despicable killing plan. Don't you care about your dignity? Shui Hongluan scolded. Why do you have to keep your face? You all know the truth that the winner is the king and the loser is the bandit, right? Bai Shangfang waved his hand, and a formation rose up and began to operate. This formation had been set up yesterday, but it had not been activated. When Shui Hongluan saw this scene, her eyes narrowed. She had never expected that the other party would have such an arrangement. Qin Haitian, do you know what this is called? Catching a turtle in a jar. Bai Shangfang said with a smile. His attention was mainly on Qin Haitian and Shui Hongluan. As for Lu Ruoxian, Lang Qingshuang, and other people from the Lu family, he didn't care about them at all. They could not pose any threat to them at all. Shui Hongluan was extremely anxious. What should she do now? Although Qin Haitian's flying boat was extremely fast, it was too late to activate it now. Even if he could activate it, he would not be able to break through the trap and escape. Although what Bai Shangfang said was unpleasant to hear, it was the truth. They were now in great trouble. At this moment, Lang Qingshuang and Lu Ruoxian's hearts sank to the bottom. Qin Haitian, look who these two people are. Seeing that Qin Haitian's expression was unmoved, Bai Shangfang had a playful look on his face. As he spoke, he pointed in a direction and saw 2 figures rushing towards them. The 3 women were completely stunned by the appearance of these 2 people. Yang Shan, Qin Mofei. They had no idea why these 2 people were here and were involved with the people from the Demon Moon sect. To be honest, Qin Haitian was also surprised. These 2 were at loggerheads a few days ago, but now when they walked together, they actually gave people an inexplicable feeling of harmony. Qin Haitian, I'm not your biological son, right? Qin Mofei looked at Qin Haitian with a gloomy expression. You know, yes, you were indeed just adopted. Qin Haitian glanced around and said lightly, how does the saying go? Villains die because they talk too much, but Qin Haitian was not in a hurry to act, firstly because he considered himself a decent person, and secondly because he had 2, 3-second real man pills, which together could only last for 6 seconds, so it was better for the enemies to gather together than to disperse, otherwise, it would be impossible to kill them all in 3 seconds. Bai Shangfang didn't know Qin Haitian's trump card, so he tried to delay the situation as much as possible in his mind, so he did so because the formation had not been fully activated in such a hurry. The helpers who control the formation have not all arrived here yet. What he wanted was to kill Qin Haitian completely with almost no casualties on his side. This was the ideal situation. Qin Haitian, you bastard, you killed my whole family. You and I cannot coexist. Qin Mofei looked at Qin Haitian with a ferocious expression and said resentfully, Qin Haitian, where did this husky come from? Qin Haitian didn't want to scold Qin Mofei, but he really didn't know how this guy was fooled into this state. How could an adoptive father become the enemy who murdered his father? No wonder this guy's favorability towards me has reached -100 points. I used to think that the girl this guy liked, Lu Ruoxian, had become his woman, and he was holding a grudge against her. However, Qin Haitian was too lazy to explain anything to this idiot, because this guy's real adoptive father was dead. He just occupied the other person's body and was not the other person's real adoptive father. He had no obligation to tell him the truth. Seeing that Qin Haitian didn't say anything, Qin Mofei thought that Qin Haitian admitted it. Of course, even if Qin Haitian tried to explain, he would not believe it, because the other party had deceived him for more than 20 years. If he wanted to deceive him, he could make up any story. Well, this is because of preconceived ideas. Of course, it is also because Qin Haitian snatched away the woman he liked. In his heart, this is not what a father should do at all. He is unworthy of being a father. Originally, Bai Shangfeng was worried that Qin Haitian would explain something, as this would be inconsistent with his subsequent plan to train Qin Mofei to become the leader of the Baijian sect. However, Qin Haitian's silence was exactly what he wanted. Seeing that the formation was fully activated, other helpers also arrived in place one after another. Qin Haitian, your death is coming. Bai Shangfeng looked at Qin Haitian and sneered, then looked at the three women around Qin Haitian. Of course, don't worry, I will take good care of the three women around you. Master Bai, didn't you say that you would only kill Qin Haitian, and then I would become your disciple and you would leave them to me? Yang Shan said repeatedly after hearing Bai Shangfeng's words. Although he was deeply hurt by the three women, they all became Qin Haitian's women, but Qin Haitian was the culprit. He killed the three women. He thought that the three women could return to his arms. Although they might not be pure anymore, his love for them had not disappeared. Young man, I'll leave it to you. I'm worried that you can't control it. After all, these three women are already married. Bai Shangfeng sneered. He said this before because he wanted to accept Yang Shan as his disciple because Yang Shan's talent was too strong. But now, looking at the three radiant, beautiful and charming women, his eyes were burning, so he changed his mind. Yang Shan's face turned black on the spot. Don't worry, there are plenty of good women. I, your master, will definitely make good arrangements for you when the time comes. Bai Shangfeng patted Yang Shan's arm. Yang Shan was filled with resentment. Damn you Bai Shangfeng. Why don't you go find a good woman yourself? Damn it, I thought I had a future with you, but damn, I didn't expect to get out of the wolf's den and into the tiger's den. Shui Hongluan and the other two women were very angry. Firstly, they were angry about Bai Shangfeng's words, and secondly, they were angry that Yang Shan actually became the disciple of Bai Shangfeng, the leader of the Moyu sect. This was a blatant betrayal. But besides being angry, they were also extremely anxious. What should they do next? They had no idea at all. Now they seemed to be meat on the chopping board, because Bai Shangfeng brought more than a dozen Star Sea Realm cultivators, including 4 at the 9th and 10th levels of the Star Sea Realm, and the weakest of the others were at the 1st level of the Star Sea Realm. Have you finished your nonsense? If you have, I will send you off right now. At this moment, Qin Haitian spoke in a sarcastic voice. Shui Hongluan and the other two girls were stunned when they heard Qin Haitian's words. Isn't your strength similar to Bai Shangfeng's? Shui Hongluan also knew that Qin Haitian almost died together with the third elder of the Demon Moon sect last time, and his injuries were extremely serious and he was far from recovered. Are you saying this now to scare people? But this doesn't scare me at all. Because before you were injured, you might not have been able to defeat Bai Shangfeng. At most, you were evenly matched. But now, he outnumbers us, and you are seriously injured. There is no possibility of scaring him off at all. You are about to die, yet you still dare to speak such nonsense. Bai Shangfeng laughed. The other cultivators of the Demon Moon sect also joined the sect leader in laughing. They felt like they had heard a huge joke and believed that Qin Haitian was having a hysterical episode as he was about to die. But the next moment, their smiles stopped abruptly. Have you laughed enough? If you have, then I'm going to die. As Qin Haitian's sinister voice sounded, his aura suddenly surged countless times. Originally, his cultivation was at the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment realm, but after using the 3 seconds of true manliness, his combat power became nearly invincible at the Daotai realm in a short period of time. Chapter 37 Father, please spare my life. Qin Haitian's aura soared into the sky at this moment, his clothes fluttering, as if he was a burning sun. People dared not look directly at him, and fear grew in their hearts, but the three women around Qin Haitian had a feeling of being surrounded by a strong sense of security. Their beautiful eyes looked at Qin Haitian infatuatedly. This was the man they liked. Not only was he handsome, but he also gave them a sense of security. He was so charming, wasn't he? Not good. Bai Xiangfeng reacted the fastest at this moment and turned around and ran. The others also had expressions of horror on their faces and immediately fled in all directions. Because they have all seen existences in the Daotai realm, but even the strongest Daotai realm cultivator they have seen, the power he can unleash is far inferior to that of Qin Haitian. I am invincible within 3 seconds, and if it exceeds 3 seconds, it will be 1 for 1. This treasure, which was rated as a 5-star treasure by the system, the 3 seconds of real man, treasure, is not just a name. These people wanted to escape, but most of them had no time to do so. They were too close to Qin Haitian and there was too much of a crowd around them. Qin Haitian suddenly had 10 flying knives in his hands and he threw them out violently. Whoosh! 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 The posture should be cool, the speed should be fast, but the effect should be touching. Although all the bullets hit the target, they only killed 3 people. The other 7 were either shot in the arms or in the thighs. However, the arms or thighs of the 7 people who were shot in the arms or thighs were exploded. The power contained in the flying knives was extremely terrifying. The main reason was that Qin Haitian was not quite accustomed to the sudden surge of strength. It was as if she was a beautiful and deft girl who was good at embroidery, but suddenly she had the strength of a strong man and was asked to embroider immediately. It was obviously impossible for her to grasp the powerful force and perform the delicate operations as before. It takes some time to adapt, but the 3 seconds of real manliness pill didn't give him that chance at all. After all, the whole process only takes 3 seconds. Qin Haitian reacted instantly and realized that it was not okay to kill people in this way. Hongluan, take good care of Shaner and Xuanzhe. Qin Haitian disappeared from the spot before he finished speaking. Qin Haitian was like a wolf among a flock of sheep, killing one with every punch and kick. His speed was so fast that it was hard to keep up. It's almost like killing 3 or 4 people in 1 second. No, Master, help me. Master Qin, please don't kill me. Let's talk it over. I'll fight you. When these people saw Qin Haitian rushing towards them in horror, some of them resisted, some were powerless to resist, some begged for mercy, and some wanted to fight Qin Haitian, but it was useless. Qin Haitian punched out, and the space seemed to be almost imprisoned. No matter how these people responded, they were destined to be killed. It's no use besieging them, as they were killed before they could even make a move. At some point, Father, I was wrong, please don't kill me. Seeing Qin Haitian, with bloodthirsty eyes, rushing towards him with his fist as big as a casserole, Qin Mofei, who had been stunned for a long time, knelt down and begged for mercy. What does it matter if the murderer of your father is your enemy or not? What's more important is to save your own life. He hoped that Qin Haitian would spare his life for the sake of their father-son friendship over the years. Qin Haitian looked at Qin Mofei, who was terrified, and silently put away his fist. His powerful aura was also restrained in an instant. In fact, his aura was not restrained, but the effect of the 3 seconds of real manliness pill had worn off, and he had recovered to the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Qin Haitian felt a little unsatisfied. This feeling of being able to conquer all directions and being invincible is really addictive. This is just the invincible combat power of the Daotai realm. What if it is above the Daotai realm? Qin Haitian felt a sense of anticipation of becoming stronger. How great it would be if he could be so powerful without relying on drugs. Poof. Qin Haitian suddenly heard the sound of vomiting. He turned his head and saw that the person who was vomiting was Lu Ruoxian. She was vomiting all over the place. I'll settle the score with you later. Qin Haitian looked at Qin Mofei coldly, then walked towards Lu Ruoxian with a concerned look on his face. Are you okay? Qin Haitian looked at Lu Ruoxian in a gentle voice. It's a bit strange to see so many body parts at once. Lu Ruoxian said with a pale face and couldn't help vomiting again. In comparison, Shui Hongluan and Leng Qingshuang are much better. They are not the kind of women who are just cold and aloof. They have both killed people. Therefore, although this scene is a little bloody, they can still face it calmly. Qin Haitian took a look and felt nauseous. He didn't think too much when he took action before. He just wanted to kill as many enemies as possible. After all, there were only 2 3-second true man pills, and one had been used. There were too many enemies left. If they discovered the secret, it would be bad. Fortunately, these people were too weak, and killing them was like slaughtering chicks. One pill killed more than a dozen of them. The main reason is that the difference in strength is too great. Even between the first level of Daotai realm and the 10th level of Xinghai realm, there is a huge gap, not to mention that Qin Haitian previously possessed the invincible strength of Daotai realm. However, the feeling of nausea was fleeting. Perhaps because his previous incarnation had killed too many people, his resistance was relatively strong. Qin Haitian was temporarily unable to accept it psychologically, but he soon got over it. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak, and killing was a common thing. Should he just treat this as a game world? With this thought, the slight discomfort in his heart completely disappeared. Have you recovered your cultivation? How come you suddenly burst out with such powerful strength? Shui Hongluan looked at Qin Haitian and asked. After asking, she felt something was wrong. Qin Haitian was not so strong in his prime. Even if Qin Haitian not only recovered his cultivation but also reached a higher level in strength, or even broke through to the Daotai realm, he should not be so strong. Let's talk about it in private. Qin Hai gave an eye. Oh, Shui Hongluan was stunned for a moment and nodded. Then she thought that this might be Qin Haitian's life-saving trump card, but this life-saving trump card was somewhat exaggerated. It's a pity that Bai Shangfang and the scholar Liu Beitao escaped. Qin Haitian said regretfully. Yes, Qin Haitian had killed more than a dozen practitioners from the Demon Moon sect before, but he was not able to kill the 2 fastest ones who fled for their lives as soon as they realized the situation was not good. It's already pretty good. As for Bai Shangfang, there's no need to say anything. As soon as he saw something was wrong, he turned around and ran away desperately. I'm afraid that even an ordinary Taoist master might not be able to catch up with him, and you couldn't have chased him alone at that time. There's no need to say anything about Liu Beitao. This guy's fighting ability is not good, but his means of saving his life are first-rate. After all, he was thought to be dead at the beginning, but he is still alive and well. But after this incident, they dare not ambush you easily anymore. Shui Hongluan smiled and comforted. Just because they don't dare to ambush me easily doesn't mean they won't. And the next time they ambush me, it will definitely be a strong man in the Daotai realm who makes the move. Qin Haitian shook his head. As for escaping from Bai Shangfang and Liu Beitao, there was no way at the time. Just like Shui Hongluan said, he couldn't chase those people, because once he did, he would definitely be able to kill them, but his 3 women would be in danger. Hearing this, Shui Hongluan was startled. That's right. But don't worry, I still have the life-saving trump card. Qin Haitian shrugged and said with a smile. That's good. Shui Hongluan breathed a sigh of relief when she heard that. Qin Haitian was silent for a moment, muttering to himself, the stock of the 3 seconds real man pills must be kept. Otherwise, if a similar situation occurs again, won't he be at the mercy of others? In addition to Bai Shangfang and Liu Beitao who escaped, there were 2 people who survived. One was Qin Mofei, the adopted son, who was almost killed by Qin Haitian with 1 punch, and the other was Yang Shan. Qin Haitian actually wanted to kill Yang Shan, but he was worried that his 3 women would create a rift between him and him, so he did not kill him at that time. As for almost killing Qin Mofei, it was entirely because he was unhappy about being a father. He was more annoyed with him than with Yang Shan. If the effect of the pill had not suddenly disappeared, Qin Haitian was not sure whether he would still choose to kill him even if he begged for mercy. Chapter 38 Kneel down and beg for mercy. Shu Mengjiao rode her horse towards the direction where the flying boat landed, and Huang Wanshan followed closely on horseback. Not long after, Shu Mengjiao arrived outside a mansion. Lu Mansion. Shu Mengjiao looked at the plaque above her head and whispered to herself, as if she remembered something. Her junior brother Qin Mofei seemed to like a female disciple named Lu Ruoxian who joined the sect last year. That female disciple seemed to be from Fengyan City. This was all told to her by the junior fellow apprentice when they were chatting through the communication tool. Master's flying boat landed here. Could something have happened? For example, my junior brother getting engaged to Lu Ruoxian. When Shu Mengjiao thought of this, she felt that her guess was almost right, because Master had always loved Qin Mofei very much. Why is the Lu mansion shrouded in such a powerful formation? Huang Wanshan said in surprise. Xu Mengzhao hadn't noticed it before, but after hearing what Huang Wanshan said, she suddenly felt that the level of this formation was very high. It should not be something that a family in such an earthly city could set up. At this moment, two figures fled out of Lu mansion in panic and embarrassment, one after the other. From their expressions, one could see how terrified they were. After escaping from Lu mansion, the two of them rushed towards the outside of the city without looking back. As they fled, the formation disappeared because the core formation plate of the formation was on Bai Shangfeng's body. Isn't that the leader of the Demon Moon sect? Both of them recognized that the figure fleeing in panic was the leader of the Demon Moon sect. After all, this guy was one of the top 10 masters below the Daotai realm, and he was also the leader of the Demon Moon sect, the largest force in Qingzhou. How could they not recognize him? He seems to have encountered something terrible. Junior sister Shu, are we still going in? Huang Wanshan asked somewhat uneasily. Let's go in and take a look. My master might be in there. Xu Mengzhao took a deep breath and said. As he said this, he dismounted from his horse and went straight into the unattended Lu mansion. Huang Wanshan saw Xu Mengzhao entering, although he felt a little uneasy, but for the sake of his own plan, he gritted his teeth and stomped his feet. He thought that if he was worried about encountering danger, he could not make further progress in the future. In the Lu mansion, Yangshan was horrified and shocked. He originally thought that Qin Haitian was doomed to die, but what happened? Qin Haitian suddenly exploded. In 1 or 2 breaths, except for the 2 who escaped, all other Demon Moon sect cultivators were slaughtered on the spot. This shocked him so much that he even forgot to escape. Just when he wanted to escape, the battle was over. He could only stand there trembling, not daring to think about escaping anymore, for fear that Qin Haitian would kill him. Even if he didn't run away, he was unsure and could only look at his childhood sweetheart Lu Ruoxian and his master Shui Hongluan with pleading eyes, hoping that they could help him beg for mercy this time. But even so, it depends on how deep Qin Haitian's feelings for the 2 women are. Qin Haitian ignored his adopted son Qin Mofei and looked at Yangshan gloomily. The latter's legs went weak and he fell to his knees. Master, I was wrong, I will never dare to do it again. Is it embarrassing? Very embarrassing, but in order to survive, it's not shabby. Of course, I am considered a junior when facing Qin Haitian, so it is not unacceptable for me to kneel down to my elder as a junior. Of course, this is thanks to Qin Mofei who set an example in advance. Otherwise, he wouldn't have knelt so easily and smoothly. Qin Haitian, Lu Ruoxian and Shui Hongluan, who were considering begging for mercy, were so breathless after seeing this scene that they felt embarrassed. Leng Qingshuang shook her head secretly when she saw this scene. She had once been attracted to Yangshan. Now thinking about it, she was lucky that she met Qin Haitian. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing to be with Yangshan. Even if the man she likes is not a man of great stature, he can't just live like this, right? Moreover, even if he doesn't kneel, he may not die. After all, Lu Ruoxian and Shui Hongluan will not watch Qin Haitian kill him. Qin Haitian looked at Yangshan, making Yangshan feel scared. In fact, he just wanted to see some relevant information about him. Open black lens bracket. Name: Yangshan close black lens bracket. Age: 19. Cultivation: Foundation Establishment Stage 8. Luck value: 40,000 points. Favorability rating: -100 points. Recent opportunity location: City of Chaos. His luck value increased by a full 20,000 points, his cultivation level increased by 1 level, and the location of the opportunity also changed. What's going on? Could it be that he has already got the opportunity at Fengyan Auction House? Qin Haitian pondered in his heart. Senior brother, please spare his life for my sake. At this moment, Shui Hongluan spoke. She felt that if she didn't speak, Qin Haitian might really kill Yangshan. Old Qin, please forgive him this time. Lu Ruoxian also looked at Qin Haitian with a pleading look in her eyes. Although her heart is now completely tied to Qin Haitian, she does not want to see Yangshan die. After all, the friendship between childhood sweethearts for so many years will not disappear so easily. Qin Haitian had no objection when he heard the 2 women pleading for Yangshan. First, he couldn't let the 2 women down just to kill Yangshan. Second, even if he wanted to kill Yangshan, it would be difficult. Because he could either instruct Leng Qingshuang and Shui Hongluan to kill him, or use the 3 seconds real man pill himself. The main reason was that he was only at the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. If the other party resisted, he might not be able to kill this son of destiny with his real ability. So he said, Yongshan, since my 2 women are begging for you, I will forgive you this time. But if you fall into my hands again next time, don't blame me for being cruel and ruthless. Get out of here. Thank you, sect master, for showing mercy. Yongshan stood up and thanked him. Of course, he hated Qin Haitian to the core, but he didn't dare to show it, at least not now. Then he looked at Shui Hongluan and Lu Ruoxian. Master, thank you. Shaner, thank you. Don't call me master anymore. From today on, you are expelled from my sect. Our master-disciple relationship is severed from now on. If you do evil again, I will kill you with my own hands. Shui Hongluan said coldly. She was begging for mercy because of their master-disciple relationship of more than a year. Otherwise, if anyone dared to kill her man, she would definitely cut him into pieces with her own hands. Brother Yong, this is the last time I'm calling you. I hope you'll take care of yourself in the future. Lu Ruoxian looked at Yongshan coldly, and then spoke. Her friendship with Yongshan in the past was completely over today. Yongshan opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but no words came out. At this moment, he felt endless grievance and hatred. The hatred was naturally directed at Qin Haitian. It was all because of Qin Haitian. Otherwise, how could he have ended up being abandoned by everyone? Qin Haitian, I will repay you 100-fold for the humiliation you suffered today. I swear. With endless hatred in his heart, Yongshan turned around and walked out of Lu Mansion. On his way out, he met a man and a woman. The man was as handsome as he was, and the woman was as beautiful as Ruoxian, whom he liked. But he was in no mood to look at the other person anymore at this moment. Qin Haitian looked at his adopted son Qin Mofei kneeling on the ground. The latter lowered his head tremblingly, not daring to look Qin Haitian in the eye. Qin Haitian was wondering how to deal with Qin Mofei. Should he kill him directly or let him go? At this moment, a surprised voice sounded, Master, junior brother. When Qin Haitian heard this somewhat familiar voice, he turned his head and looked over. What came into his sight was a stunningly beautiful woman who was of the same level of beauty as his 3 women. Master. A flash of lightning seemed to flash through Qin Haitian's mind, and then he understood the other party's identity. She was one of the 2 female disciples of his predecessor, Shu Mengjiao. Then the relevant information about Shu Mengjiao also came into view. Name: Shu Mengjiao. Age: 26. Cultivation: 10th level of Tongshuan realm is complete. Open black lens bracket. Appearance: 96. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Talent index: 6,822 points. Close black lens bracket. Likability rating: 91. Ding tilde tilde tilde. Mission released. Successfully bind Shu Mengjiao as one of your beauties. Deadline: within 7 days. Reward: increase 70,000 experience points. Punishment: deprive of cultivation. Qin Haitian: fuck, system, please act like a human being. Aren't you trying to embarrass me, fat tiger? It's fine if you don't issue any tasks, but you're so excessive when you do. Qin Haitian cursed in his heart, she is the disciple of my previous incarnation. You want me to bind her? Isn't that too fucking exciting? I like this kind of difficult challenge. Looking at Shu Mengjiao, Qin Haitian showed a meaningful smile on his face. For some reason, Shu Mengjiao felt very unnatural when she saw Qin Haitian looking at her with a smile, as if she was Little Red Riding Hood being stared at by the big bad wolf. Why does her master seem like a different person? Chapter 39: Qin Haitian's evil idea. Shu Mengjiao suppressed the strangeness in her heart and turned her head away, only to notice that the martial arts field was full of mutilated corpses. She seemed to be shocked by the costumes, and when she saw Qin Mofei kneeling on the ground, she asked in surprise, Junior brother, why are you kneeling on the ground? Qin Mofei stuttered when he heard the question from his second sister Shu Mengjiao, not knowing how to answer. Where is my father? What have you done to him? At this moment, Lu Ruoxian spoke with a serious expression. Your father is fine, he was just fed medicine and is now unconscious in his own residence. Qin Mofei laughed dryly. Hearing this, Lu Ruoxian couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. She was glad that her father was not killed. At this moment, Shu Mengjiao felt a little confused, because things before her seemed to be much more complicated than she had imagined. Qin Haitian collected the storage treasures from the dozen people he had killed. It was not appropriate to let girls do this. As for the people from the Lu family, they might not be able to recognize what storage treasures were. Shaner, arrange a yard for me. Qin Haitian quickly collected the storage treasures, then looked at Lu Ruoxian and said. Okay. Lu Ruoxian responded. Although the battle just now was short, she felt that Qin Haitian must have consumed a lot of energy and really needed time to rest. Moreover, his female disciple has come and may have a lot to say. Thinking of Qin Haitian's female disciple, she felt somewhat strange, because this senior sister was several years older than her, but she was her man's disciple, which seemed a bit unnatural. This was also the reason why she did not take the initiative to say hello. Master. At this time, Xu Mengjiao spoke again. At this moment, her heart was full of doubts. If you have anything to say, let's talk later. Qin Haitian said lightly. He was mainly thinking about how to lower the favorability of his female disciple Xu Mengjiao. 7 days is neither long nor short. If you can think of a good strategy, you may be able to achieve your goal in 1 day. If you can't come up with a good idea, let alone 7 days, even if you are given another 7 days, it will be of no use. The reward of 70,000 points of cultivation experience and the punishment of returning your cultivation to 0. Even a fool would know what to do. The system is so cruel that it is impossible for Qin Haitian to give up. Okay, master, Xu Mengjiao said obediently. Not long after Lu Ruoxian took Qin Haitian and others away, the Lu family members who had been stunned in the martial arts arena came to their senses. The leader of the 100 Swords sect is so powerful. Isn't it said that the Demon Moon sect is the largest sect in our Qingzhou? The leader of the Demon Moon sect, who led so many experts, was defeated by sect master Qin alone. Except for 2 who escaped by luck, the others were defeated without exception. I can only say that the leader of the 100 Swords sect is truly amazing. By the way, from the conversation just now, it seems that the eldest lady has become the woman of the Lord of Baijian sect. Yes, I heard that, too. No wonder the 100 Swords sect master came to our family in person, that's why. In this way, doesn't the 100 Swords sect become the backing of our Lu family? Who will dare to bully our Lu family in the future? That's right, if this gets out, our king will have to treat our Lu family well. After all, our country has to pay tribute to the 100 Swords sect every year. Miss, if you don't make a move, it's fine. Once you make a move, it will be a big hit. Yeah, I thought the young lady would end up with that boy Yangshan, but now it seems that I was worrying too much. Although Yangshan has good talent, how can he compare with a great figure like the master of Baijian sect who is so elegant and powerful? The eldest lady has a good eye. As for the fact that Qin Haitian was much older than Lu Ruoxian, they didn't care. First, Qin Haitian looked very young, only in his early 30s, and cultivators were older than normal people. When one's cultivation reaches the Star Sea realm, one's lifespan can reach 200 years. When one reaches the Daotai realm, the lifespan will be even longer. If their eldest lady's cultivation could not reach the Star Sea realm, she would have died earlier than Qin Haitian. Of course, they didn't know that Qin Haitian's current realm was actually the same as their eldest lady's, both were at the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. A quiet courtyard. Qin Haitian sat on a chair in the living room. There were 3 people standing in front of him. They were Xu Mengjiao, Qin Mofei, and Huang Wanshan. As for Lang Qingshuang and Shui Hongluan, Qin Haitian did not let them come, and Lu Ruoxian went to find her father. Qin Haitian's focus was on Huang Wanshan. Seeing Master looking at Huang Wanshan, Xu Mengjiao introduced him. Master, this is my good friend Huang Wanshan. He has taken good care of me over the past few years. I originally wanted to let Master see what Huang Wanshan is like. If Master is satisfied, I would be ready to become his Taoist partner. After all, after several years of getting along, although there are still some aspects of Huang Wanshan that do not satisfy her, overall, he is already a rare young talent. There is no better choice. Perhaps becoming a Taoist partner with him is a good option, but it seemed inappropriate to say this now, because she still didn't understand what had happened to the Lu family. Maybe the master was in a bad mood, so she didn't dare to bring it up now. Hello, senior. I am honored to be your guest. Huang Wanshan said repeatedly. Open black lens bracket. Name. Huang Wanshan close black lens bracket age. 28 cultivation. 10th level of Tongshuan realm is complete favorability rating. -69 luck value. 30,000 points recent opportunities. None. Qin Haitian felt a little strange. This guy was actually a son of luck. With a little imagination, this was not surprising. In fact, many people with outstanding talents were sons of luck. It's just that the luck values can be high or low. In comparison, Yongshan's luck value is the highest, and he can be regarded as the son of destiny on the first day that he has ever seen. After all, he has robbed him of 80,000 luck points. It has only been a few days since he left the sect, and that guy's luck value has increased by 20,000 points to 40,000 points. There was another reason why Qin Haitian did not intend to kill Yongshan at the beginning. That was that he treated him as an ATM and could withdraw some luck points from him whenever he wanted. It was indeed inappropriate to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. Well, he has already thought about it. Once things here are settled, he will go to Chaos City to snatch Yongshan's opportunity. He just doesn't know how much he can get by then. As for how to rob, just follow Yongshan and act like a yellow bird. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind it. To be honest, when Qin Haitian saw Huang Wanshan's favorability, he felt speechless. This guy was respectful to me on the surface, but in his heart he actually hated me. Minus 69 favorability, this is not just simple hatred. Am I so hated? I cursed in my heart, you bastard, if you weren't still of some use, I would kill you now. Let's all sit down and talk. Qin Haitian said indifferently. Yes, the three of them sat down obediently. It's just that the three people have different thoughts at this moment. Is Master dissatisfied with Huang Guangshan? Otherwise, why is his voice so cold? Xu Mengjiao muttered secretly in her heart. This old guy is really playful. All three of these stunning beauties are his women. But he is so indifferent to me. Is he dissatisfied with me? If he is dissatisfied with me, how can I learn his magic skills and martial arts? Huang Wanshan thought irritably. I really regret it. Why did I jump out before? I'm done for now. Even if he doesn't kill me because of our long-term father-son relationship, how can I go back to the 100-sword sect? Qin Mofei gritted his teeth in his heart. Looking at the three people with different expressions, Qin Haitian watched silently, and this silence put a lot of pressure on the three of them. What they didn't know was that Qin Haitian was currently thinking about how to lower Xu Mengjiao's favorability, so he had no mood to care about their messy thoughts. Suddenly, as if a flash of lightning flashed through my mind, a devilish idea sprouted in my mind. Although this idea is not very good, it is not shameful for achieving the goal. His mind raced, and soon the idea was perfected in his mind, and then Qin Haitian's mouth corners involuntarily curled up. Chapter 40 Deception. The quiet and secluded living room of the villa was hushed and silent. Sizzle tilde 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 Qin Haitian took out the incense burner, put incense in it, and then used his true energy to light the incense in the burner. Suddenly, the faint sandalwood scent drifted into everyone's nostrils. Master, why are you lighting incense for? Xu Mengjiao looked at Qin Haitian in surprise after he did all this. Qin Mofei and Huang Wanshan were also puzzled, but did not dare to ask. Today, I have committed too many sins, so I specially burn incense and pray. Qin Haitian said leisurely, then looked deeply at Qin Mofei and said, You said I am a thief, the murderer who killed your whole family, right? Hearing this, Xu Mengjiao and Huang Wanshan were shocked. The former couldn't believe it, while the latter felt a chill down his spine. Did he hear some secret that he shouldn't have heard? Would Qin Haitian silence him afterwards? At this moment, he was feeling uneasy and had the urge to escape immediately. However, Qin Haitian was able to defeat all his opponents despite being surrounded and attacked by so many powerful Star Sea Realm masters. If he tried to escape an irritated Qin Haitian, he was worried that he would be killed immediately. Qin Mofei didn't dare to look Qin Haitian in the eyes when facing the seemingly ordinary question, for fear that Qin Haitian would see that he was in a wrong mood and kill him. Junior brother, have you been bewitched by someone? Our master raised us, can't you feel his care for us? Xu Mengjiao said with a look of disappointment. Well, I may have made a mistake and was fooled by the enemy. Qin Mofei said with a forced smile. Even if it's true, I wouldn't dare say it out loud at this time. Because Qin Haitian's look at this moment was too scary. It's good that you admit your mistake. Don't believe everything you hear in the future. Xu Mengjiao breathed a sigh of relief and complained to her second brother. Yes, second senior sister is right. Qin Mofei agreed repeatedly. Who says that wind is the beginning of rain? At this time, Qin Haitian said faintly, haven't you heard that saying? There is no wind without waves. When these words came out, the three people in the living room were shocked. They had never expected that Qin Haitian would actually blow himself up. Master, you. Xu Mengjiao looked at Qin Haitian and asked stutteringly. Yes, I did kill Qin Mofei's entire family and then adopted him. He was right to want to kill me. Qin Haitian admitted frankly, with a strange smile on his face. The three people in the hall felt creepy when they saw Qin Haitian's weird smile. Master, you are kidding, right? Xu Mengjiao said incoherently. At this moment, Qin Haitian made her feel scared, and her favorability rating dropped below 90. Of course, such high feelings were no joke, so she still hoped that Qin Haitian was joking. Qin Mofei completely believed that he was able to survive by chance because of his good aptitude. Of course, the real reason was that Qin Haitian stole their family's heavenly secret book and adopted him just because of his good aptitude. Huang Wanshan's scalp was tingling at this time. What did he hear? Qin Haitian told such a secret. Did he want to kill them all? No, it shouldn't be. I heard from Xu Mengjiao that her father was very good to her. Are you kidding? Is this funny? Qin Haitian looked at Xu Mengjiao dimly. For some reason, Xu Mengjiao felt very strange looking at Qin Haitian at this moment. Xu Mengjiao wanted to respond, but she didn't know how to answer. Such a master didn't make her feel any warmth at all. In fact, not only Mo Fei, but also you are all orphans created by me. Qin Haitian looked at Xu Mengjiao deeply and said, in fact, your family members were all killed by me, because I thought you had good qualifications. No, this is not true. Master, you are kidding, right? I know I have rarely gone back to see you in recent years, but my love for you has not diminished in the slightest. You must not scare me. Xu Mengjiao was so frightened that her face turned pale and she couldn't believe it. She shook her head repeatedly. Qin Mofei was still calm. After all, he had made such a speculation, but he didn't expect Qin Haitian to actually tell this matter. His heart sank to the bottom. Could it be that this thief wanted to kill the three of them to silence them? Huang Wanshan had the urge to flee, but for some reason, he suddenly felt powerless and could only collapse in fear on the chair. Seeing that Xu Mengjiao's favorability rating plummeted and soon fell below 60, Qin Haitian understood that Xu Mengjiao should have believed it, but not completely believed it. It's like someone who suddenly hears bad news, always hoping that the person who sent the message has made a mistake. At this time, Xu Mengjiao really hoped that Qin Haitian would laugh and say that he was joking. But what made Xu Mengjiao's heart fall into the abyss was that Qin Haitian admitted it, and his voice was as cold as a devil's whisper. Do you know why I said it? Because today I will send you to the underground to reunite with your family. Your family has been lonely underground for too long. Master, no. Xu Mengjiao looked at Qin Haitian in shock and anger, and her favorability level dropped directly to 30 points. Are you very unwilling? Qin Haitian stood up and walked towards Xu Mengjiao. The latter's favorability was not low enough. Even in this situation, her favorability had not dropped to 0 or even negative. Xu Mengjiao looked at Qin Haitian with trembling lips. Just because they were very talented, he killed their whole family. Was he a devil? Why was Qin Haitian in her memory such a gentle and elegant person? Why is there such a big deviation? If this matter had not been said by Qin Haitian, she would not have believed it if anyone else had said it, even if it was her junior brother Qin Mofei. But now, she has to believe it even if she doesn't want to. Plop tilde tilde tilde. At this moment, Qin Mofei fell off the chair, with horror in his eyes. Why do I have no strength at all? Huang Wanshan exclaimed. Just now he thought that he was just too shocked by this horrible fact, so he had no strength. Now even Qin Mofei was the same. He took a deep breath and found that all his strength was empty, as if he was suppressed by some unknown force. The sandalwood you lit just now is poisonous. Xu Mengjiao found that she was also poisonous and looked at Qin Haitian in shock and anger. I don't want my hands to be stained with your blood, so I'll use poison. This way you can suffer less pain before you die. Qin Haitian showed a smile on his face. Yes, sandalwood is poisonous. As for why he was not poisoned, it was because when he took the sandalwood, he also took the antidote first. Let us suffer less. How can such a cruel word be said so easily? It turns out that the love before was all a disguise, right? But why did it have to be disguised for so many years, and it was completely exposed today? Why didn't you hide it from me for the rest of my life? This was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. Xu Mengjiao showed a sad smile on her face. I came back with great expectations, but I didn't expect to suffer such a bolt from the blue. I might as well die outside. Chapter 41 Serial Means. Huang Wanshan knelt on the ground, tears streaming down his face. Master Qin, Senior Qin, this matter has nothing to do with me. Please spare my life. Master, Huang Wanshan is innocent, just let him go. At this time, Xu Mengzhao spoke weakly. She felt that all the strength in her body was almost drained away. Huang Wanshan's ugly performance at this time made Xu Mengzhao feel funny. She thought he was a man of great integrity before, but now it seems that he is no different from a clown. Of course, maybe everyone will be ugly when facing death. But why am I so calm? Could it be that there is no greater sorrow than a dead heart? Now that you know my secret, do you think you can survive alone? Stop complaining. I despise people like you the most. Qin Haishan sneered, then slapped Huang Wanshan on the body. The latter vomited blood and flew backwards, then his head tilted and he became silent. Why did you beat him to death? This has nothing to do with him. Xu Mengzhao looked at Huang Wanshan, who was tragically killed by her, and looked at Qin Haishan with resentment. I always like to take people's lives lightly, so let him have some bad luck. Qin Haishan shrugged and said, lightly. Xu Mengzhao, she had nothing to say about it. Yes, her family members were so innocent, but didn't Qin Haishan kill them all? Just because she had good looks. But why did Qin Haishan hide so well for so many years? You bastard! Qin Mofei cursed weakly, then his head tilted and he became silent, looking as if he was dead. I hate you. Xu Mengzhao burst into tears, said to Qin Haishan viciously, and then closed her eyes. At this moment, many heartwarming scenes of herself and Qin Haishan playing happily together flashed through her mind. He taught her how to practice sword, and when she didn't feel like eating, he spoke softly to her to make her laugh. Those scenes were all very warm and beautiful. Over the years, she felt very happy whenever she thought of those warm scenes. But why did he want to puncture her beautiful fantasy today? As long as he didn't take the initiative to say it, she would not choose to believe this fact from anyone else. Why, she didn't know why he did this. Master, isn't it good to lie to yourself for the rest of your life? She didn't understand, but she didn't want to hate him. Although her master killed her entire family, he also brought her countless beautiful memories. Even if she had the strength now, even if she was stronger than Qin Haishan, she was afraid she couldn't bring herself to kill him. The head tilted, and then there was no movement. The favorability is 0. Host, do you want to bind? Bind. Qin Fei did not hesitate at all. Why was he so cruel? Ding tilde tilde tilde. Congratulations on successfully completing the task of binding Xu Mengzhao within the specified time, and you will be rewarded with 70,000 experience points. Closing square bracket. Time passed quietly, as if swallowed by endless darkness, making it difficult to estimate how many years had passed. Finally, in the silence, Xu Mengzhao slowly opened her eyes, and her consciousness gradually awakened from the chaos. Get up and eat something. A gentle voice came, breaking the silence in the room. Qin Haishan smiled, his eyes showing concern. He stood quietly by the bed, holding a bowl of steaming porridge in his hand. The aroma was so fragrant that it made people salivate. However, Xu Mengzhao responded weakly, I'm not hungry. Before she finished speaking, a low and loud sound of her intestines suddenly sounded, as if ruthlessly exposing her lies. She couldn't help but blush, and secretly felt annoyed. At this moment, she had long forgotten that she had lost her cultivation. Now her body was no different from that of an ordinary person, so how could she withstand the torture of hunger? Seeing this, Qin Haishan raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and said in a firm tone, even if you are not hungry, you should get up and eat something. Although his words carried a hint of command, they were more of a concern for Xu Mengzhao's physical condition. Xu Mengzhao bit her lips lightly, wanting to argue a few more times, but swallowed the words back. In the end, she just grumbled softly, sat up obediently, and slowly got out of bed with the help of Qin Haishan. Following Qin Haishan's footsteps, she came to the dining table. It was only then that she noticed that there was a table full of sumptuous food and wine in this bedroom. Those dishes were delicious in color, aroma and taste, exuding an attractive luster and bursts of fragrance, which directly aroused people's appetite. Chapter 42. Meng Zhao is touched. Xu Mengzhao was eating peacefully, but suddenly she put down her food and started crying. Master. Looking at Xu Mengzhao, who was in tears at this moment, she looked so delicate and pitiful. Qin Haishan wiped her tears with a handkerchief. Why are you crying? I did all these things just to tell you a truth. What's the reason? Xu Mengzhao looked at Qin Haishan. At this moment, she didn't know whether she should believe what Qin Haishan said. Whether in life or work, you must have your own analysis and judgment. You can't just believe what others say. You can't assume that what you see or hear is the fact. Hearing both sides will lead to enlightenment, while hearing only one side will lead to confusion. Qin Haitian said seriously. Xu Mengjiao looked at Qin Haitian in confusion. So, Master, everything you said before was a lie? Xu Mengjiao asked. There are some true and some false. Qin Haitian asked Xu Mengjiao to sit down and spoke slowly. Hearing that Xu Mengjiao still called him master, Qin Haitian felt somewhat relieved for his predecessor. However, now that the mission has been accomplished, he has to improve her favorability. Besides, he is reluctant to let such a charming beauty fall into the arms of another man, so naturally he has to make things clear so that she won't harbor resentment towards him. What about the time you killed our parents and family members? Xu Mengjiao asked with a sinking heart. Those are of course false. When I was wandering around the world, I encountered the tragedy of your family being wiped out. I couldn't bear it, so I brought you back to the sect to train you. Qin Haitian said. Of course, what he said was naturally what his predecessor did. There was nothing wrong with his character before, he was just a relatively decent person. Perhaps the bad thing was that he doted on Qin Mofei and the others too much. For example, Qin Mofei was spoiled by his predecessor and became arrogant, thinking that the world should revolve around him. You didn't kill Huang Wanxian and your junior brother, did you? Xu Mengjiao was silent for a moment, then asked again. No, even if I want to kill you, I need your permission. Qin Haitian shrugged. Why would I kill them? Xu Mengjiao shouted angrily, her eyebrows knitted tightly, her face full of displeasure. She put her hands on her hips, her beautiful eyes wide open, staring straight at the master in front of her. Qin Haitian had a calm expression on his face and said slowly, let's not talk about Qin Mofei for now. After all, he was also deceived. But Huang Wanxian is definitely not a good guy. His tone was calm, but there was a subtle deep meaning in it. Hearing this, Xu Mengjiao's heart suddenly tightened, and she couldn't help wondering, why did Qin Haitian have such a bad evaluation of Huang Wanxian? So she hurriedly asked, why do you say that? Her eyes were full of curiosity and nervousness, and she was eager to get an answer from Qin Haitian. Qin Haitian looked serious and earnestly looked at Xu Mengjiao, and said in a deep voice, he deliberately approached you, he must have some plan. You will know the truth tomorrow. After saying this, he narrowed his eyes slightly, as if he had seen through everything. Although Xu Mengjiao was full of doubts, seeing Qin Haitian was so sure, she stopped asking and said, okay then. In fact, although she had intended to become a Taoist partner with Huang Wanxian before, it was more out of other considerations rather than true love. Otherwise, why would she not even want Huang Wanxian to hold her hand? Moreover, Huang Wanxian's ugly appearance of kneeling on the ground begging for mercy and being afraid of death really disgusted her and even made her feel extremely contemptuous. However, what puzzled Xu Mengjiao was that Qin Haitian had only just met Huang Wanxian, so how could he see through his ill intentions? And she had known Huang Wanxian for 3 years, but she had never noticed this at all. Could it be that Qin Haitian deliberately sounded the alarm for her so that she could see Huang Wanxian's true face? Thinking of this, Xu Mengjiao couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Chapter 43. Cultivation level increases dramatically, mantra pill. Xu Mengjiao bit her lip and looked at Qin Haitian with a gloomy expression, feeling confused. How should I call you from now on? You can call me master, or you can call me old Qin like Shaner does. Of course, you can call me husband too. Qin Haitian patted Xu Mengjiao and said with a smile. Tisk. Xu Mengjiao scolded with a red face. Qin Fei smiled and said, okay, take a rest. He knew that Xu Mengjiao needed time to accept this. Oh, right, my cultivation. If you hadn't told me, I would have forgotten. After taking this pill, your cultivation will be restored. Qin Haitian slapped his head, then took out a pill from his storage ring and handed it to Xu Mengjiao. Xu Mengjiao took the pill and watched Qin Haitian leave with a complicated expression and her thoughts wandering. He swallowed the pill and let his cultivation level recover, but he felt much more melancholy. What happened in the past 2 days made her feel confused and a little overwhelmed. Not long after, Qin Haitian returned to another room and opened the system interface. Open black lens bracket. Villain beauty system close black lens bracket host. Qin Haitian age, 56 cultivation. 6th level of foundation establishment experience 1759 6000 beauty. 4 luck value, 69,000 points kung fu. 100 flowers magic skill, level 4 325 400 martial arts. 100 flowers sword technique 10.1% warehouse. 70,000 practice experience packs, 1 3-star favorability card, 1 Jade Girl Pure Heart Sword Manual, 1 Dowling Pill, 1 Shaoshan Sound Skill, etc. Qin Haitian silently opened the new task reward of 70,000 practice experience packs, and immediately, his practice began to soar rapidly. The 7th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm, the 10th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm, and finally, his cultivation level was fixed at the 3rd level of the Tongshuan Realm. Cultivation. 3rd level of Tongshuan Realm, 1759 40,000ths. Then, Qin Haitian took another Xuanling Pill, and his cultivation level skyrocketed again. Xuanling Pill, once taken by a cultivator in Tongshuan Realm, can improve his cultivation from 1 to 4 levels. Qin Haitian originally did not expect to be able to break through to the 4th level. Finally, Qin Haitian's cultivation level was fixed and became cultivation, 6th level of Tongshuan Realm, 11,759 100,000ths. Finally, I have some power to protect myself. Qin Haitian said to himself with satisfaction. With the experience reward for completing the task, plus the Xuanling Pill, his cultivation level just improved by a whole realm, from the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm to the 6th level of the Tongshuan Realm. Of course, it is still far from the peak combat power of its predecessor, but Qin Haitian was still very satisfied with the speed of improvement in his cultivation. The next morning, Xu Mengjiao came to see Qin Haitian wearing a white dress. Xu Mengjiao looked pure and charming in the white dress. Master, Xu Mengjiao looked at Qin Haitian and said shyly, "You come to see me so early. Do you miss me?" Qin Haitian sat on a chair, sipping tea, looking at Xu Mengjiao with a smile. "How have you become so slick?" Xu Mengjiao looked at Qin Haitian angrily with a complicated expression. Once upon a time, the impression of Qin Haitian in her mind was that he was great, upright, and gentle. How come he became a different person now, with a bit of a villain's style? "I am no longer the person I used to be, and you are no longer the person I used to be. I hope you can remember this," Qin Haitian said while looking deeply at Xu Mengjiao. Whenever he had time, he would instill ideas into Xu Mengjiao. "Let's talk about it later." Xu Mengjiao took a deep breath and said. Now, she couldn't change the image of Qin Haitian in her mind. Fortunately, they haven't seen each other for 3 years. Although she felt a little uncomfortable, it wasn't too awkward. "You want to see Huang Wanshan's true face, right? Come on, I'll take you to see it," Qin Haitian said with a smile. Xu Mengjiao nodded. Indeed, she wanted to know why Qin Haitian thought that the other person was not a good person after only meeting him once. Qin Haitian took Xu Mengjiao into another room, and then Xu Mengjiao saw Huang Wanshan lying unconscious on the ground. "Where is my junior brother?" Xu Mengjiao asked. At first he thought both of them were imprisoned here. "As for him, I have already let him leave. If you don't believe me, you can call him." Qin Haitian smiled. "Who said you don't believe it?" Xu Mengjiao glared at Qin Haitian and said angrily. Qin Tian shrugged and didn't care that Xu Mengjiao was angry. After all, she wasn't really angry. Of course, even if she was angry, it didn't matter. He needed to change his image in Xu Mengjiao's mind, which required repeated pulling again and again. Overall, the current progress is good. Xu Mengjiao's favorability is now 68 points. Although it is not as good as before, the situation is different. The next moment, Qin Haitian leaned over and fed Huang Wanshan a pill. Xu Mengjiao was a little suspicious and asked what pill Qin Haitian fed him. Qin Haitian told him that it was a mantra pill. Once taken, he would answer any question honestly within an hour, which was comparable to the legendary mantra spell. Then Qin Haitian raised his head and slapped Huang Wanshan, and Huang Wanshan soon woke up faintly. When Huang Wanshan woke up, he was a little confused at first, but when he saw Qin Haitian, he even lay on the ground without raising his head and begged for mercy. "Sect Master Qin, Senior Qin, I can swear not to tell anyone about what happened before, please let me go." Looking at Huang Wanshan's useless appearance, Xu Mengjiao frowned. How could she have thought of becoming a Taoist partner with such a coward? "Tell me the truth, why do you hate me? What do you want to do to Mengjiao? Tell me everything," Qin Haitian said calmly. Huang Wanshan was shocked when he heard this. He wanted to say that he didn't hold a grudge against me at all, but he couldn't help but say, "Because Xu Mengjiao insisted on your consent before she was willing to marry me. And before that, she didn't let me touch her at all. You know, I spent a lot of my savings and asked people to help me act in order to win her favor." After hearing what Huang Wanshan said, Xu Meng was so angry that she almost vomited blood. It turned out that the many crises she had encountered before were staged by this guy. Huang Wanshan. Xu Mengjiao gritted her teeth and said angrily. Ah! Huang Wanshan saw Xu Mengjiao next to Qin Haitian the next moment and said repeatedly, Mengjiao, listen to my explanation. Okay, then I'll listen carefully to how you explain it, Xu Mengjiao said angrily. In fact, I really want to get you. After all, you have a stunning beauty. It would be very prestigious to tell others that you are my Taoist partner, right? But in my heart, the most urgent thing is to get the favor of your master. I hope he can teach me his magic skills and martial arts. Regardless of whether he teaches me or not, I am planning how to kill your master in the future. After all, I hope to become the next leader of the 100 Swords sect. How magnificent that would be. If I can get your favor while achieving this goal, it would be a perfect plan. Huang Wanshan said repeatedly. By the way, let me tell you how I plan step by step. No, why should I say everything that's in my heart? Huang Wanshan became more and more terrified as he spoke. He found that he could not suppress his thoughts at all, and they all came out of his mouth, including his detailed plans. After hearing this, Xu Mengjiao trembled with fear. She was so angry that she could not hold back and slapped him in anger. Go to hell, you bastard! Bang! Huang Wanshan was whipped away and hit the wall not far away, then he vomited blood and died. Huang Wanshan was slightly stronger than Xu Mengjiao in his prime, but now he was unable to use any of his skills, so he naturally could not withstand Xu Mengjiao's angry slap that was like thunder, and was beaten to death. After slapping the man to death, Xu Mengjiao felt relieved. She had never imagined that she was just a tool for Huang Wanshan to achieve his goal. When she thought about how she was completely fooled and almost killed her master Qin Haitian, she became angry and furious. No wonder my master taught me that before. It turned out that I, who claimed to be experienced in the martial arts world, was like a clown who was being fooled by others without knowing it. Chapter 44, Teaching Martial Arts Secrets. Ding tilde. Huang Wanshan died in your hands in disguise, and gained 20,000 points of luck. A voice sounded in Qin Haitian's mind. Qin Haitian was stunned at first, and then felt a little distressed, because Huang Wanshan had 30,000 luck points, and now he only had 20,000 luck points, a loss of 10,000. I had forgotten that this guy is a man of luck. However, when he bound himself to Xu Mengjiao before, he did not gain any luck value. From this, we can indirectly draw a conclusion that if the normal historical development had been followed, Xu Mengjiao might not have become Huang Wanshan's Taoist partner. After thinking about it for a while, I think this is quite reasonable. The reason why Huang Wanshan spent several years trying to please and pursue Xu Mengjiao was actually because of his predecessor. After the death of his predecessor, Huang Wanshan's mentality might explode, and then he would reveal his hideous face and be discovered by Xu Mengjiao. After all, this guy's ultimate goal is to obtain his own skills in martial arts, and Xu Mengjiao was only a tool for him to achieve his goal. Of course, Xu Mengjiao's beauty could also give him face. He said all this himself. The words he said were like a sharp knife stabbing Xu Mengjiao's heart countless times. This was also the reason why Xu Mengjiao was so angry and slapped him to death. Forget it, so let's just lose 10,000 luck points. Qin Haitian sighed in his heart. After all, the person is already dead. It's useless to regret it. At this time, he couldn't help but wonder secretly whether it was a mistake not to kill Qin Mofei before. Qin Mofei still has 30,000 luck points on him. But to be honest, I really can't do it. No matter what, my predecessor has done me some favors. It is not appropriate for me to kill his beloved adopted son just because of some luck points. There are so many sons of luck, it won't hurt to kill one or two less, and that guy is useful to keep. Now do you know why I did that before? Qin Haitian looked at Xu Mengjiao with a smile. Master, you really have good intentions for me. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you before. Xu Mengjiao looked at her master Qin Haitian and said with emotion. Do you want to learn real skills? Qin Haitian, dressed in a green shirt, stood with his hands behind his back, staring at Xu Mengjiao in front of him with burning eyes, his mouth slightly raised, raising a slightly mysterious arc, and asked slowly. His eyes, as deep as a pool of water, seemed to hide endless mysteries, making people want to find out. When Xu Mengjiao heard this, her heart skipped a beat. Her beautiful eyes widened instantly and she looked straight at Qin Haitian. Qin Haitian was tall and straight, with an extraordinary temperament, like an immortal. She couldn't help but become curious and quickly responded, real skills. Are you going to pass on your unique skills to your disciple? After saying that, She bit her lower lip lightly, speculating secretly in her heart. Seeing this, Qin Haitian smiled slightly and nodded gently, indicating his agreement. Seeing this, Xu Mengjiao became even more excited. She blinked her big, watery eyes and looked at Qin Haitian expectantly, asking eagerly, "Why do you suddenly want to pass on your unique skills to me? Is it because your disciple has been performing particularly well recently?" Qin Haitian smiled again. This time his smile was particularly brilliant, warming people's hearts like the warm spring sun. Then, as if performing a magic trick, he gently waved his right hand, and a yellowed ancient book and a volume of exquisite sword manual appeared in his hand. He handed the two things to Xu Mengjiao and said slowly, "This is the 100 Flowers magic skill, and this volume is the 100 Flowers sword manual. They are both my unique skills. I teach them to you today. I hope you will practice diligently and achieve something in the future. However, when you have learned it, remember to return it to me." Xu Mengjiao happily took the two precious secret books and held them carefully in her hands, as if they were rare treasures. She was so excited that her face turned red, and she said with a trembling voice, "Okay. Thank you, Master. I will live up to your expectations and practice hard." Before she finished speaking, she couldn't wait to open the 100 Flowers magic skill. After reading a few pages, her eyes suddenly lit up, like the bright stars in the night sky. This 100 Flowers magic skill was indeed extraordinary. The skills recorded in it were extremely mysterious, and were many times more powerful than the earth-level skills she had practiced before. The more Xu Mengjiao read, the more fascinated she became, and she was completely immersed in this magical world of martial arts. Qin Haitian just smiled and didn't bother Xu Mengjiao anymore. Chapter 45 Use Favor Cards. Qin Haitian looked at his system interface. His cultivation experience had increased slightly compared to before. Obviously, some of his women were practicing hard and had made some progress. The luck value has also increased by 20,000 points compared to before, which is one step closer to 100,000 luck points. This time Qin Haitian is not in a hurry to draw the lottery. He plans to save up 100,000 luck points before making 10 consecutive draws from the advanced prize pool. It was a pity that so many Star Sea Realm cultivators were killed in the previous battle, and the only two with good luck, Bai Shangfeng and Liu Beidao, escaped again, otherwise it would have been enough. From this we can also see that having good luck does indeed have many benefits. Open black lens bracket. Villain beauty system close black lens bracket host. Qin Haitian age, 56 cultivation. 6th level of Tongshuan realm 11,769 100,000ths beauty. 4 luck value. 89,000 points kung fu. 100 flowers magic skill. Level 4 325 400ths martial arts. 100 Flowers Sword Technique 10.1% Warehouse. 3-star Favorability Card 1, Jade Girl Pure Heart Sword Manual 1, Dowling Pill 1, Roaring Sky Sound Skill 1, Stepping on Snow Without Trace Skill 1, etc. Looking at the 3-star Favorability card in the warehouse, Qin Haitian muttered, "If I add this favorability card to Xu Mengjiao, wouldn't it be possible to directly increase her favorability towards me to the maximum?" Thinking of this, he cleaned up the room and then went to find Xu Mengjiao. "Master, why are you here again?" Xu Mengjiao opened the door and saw Qin Haitian. Her heart tightened and she said in a soft voice, "What do you think?" Qin Haitian smiled wickedly. As he spoke, he used the 3-star favorability card on Xu Mengjiao. Xu Mengjiao looked at Qin Haitian's smirk and felt flustered. Suddenly, she felt dazed. Then she looked at Qin Haitian again, her heart beating non-stop. For some reason, a sense of anticipation inexplicably arose in her heart. "Master, you are really young and handsome." Qin Haitian used a detector to search for information about Xu Mengjiao. "When I came in before, my favorability was 71 points. A 3-star favorability card can increase my favorability by 30 points. It should have been enough to reach the maximum value, but in the end it only increased to 90 points. Although this favorability is very high, it is somewhat different from what I expected. The system also gave an explanation for my doubts. The favorability card cannot be used when the favorability is above 90 points. So that's it." Qin Haitian felt relieved. Of course, 90 points of favorability is already very high. So Qin Haitian followed Xu Mengjiao into the house. Qin Haitian now has 4 beauties bound to him, and the most popular one is undoubtedly Lu Ruoxian. Although some accidents happened before, her favorability has not decreased but increased. Now it is as high as 99 points, just 1 point away from the full value. Following closely behind is not Shui Hongluan. They may be attracted by Qin Haitian's charm, and their favorability is now 98 points. Although Shui Hongluan's favorability is not as high as the other two girls, it has also reached 96 points. The lowest is Xu Mengjiao, with 90 points of favorability. Change your own skills and practice swordsmanship. Once you have mastered them, I will pass on other martial arts secrets to you. Qin Haitian said, these two heavenly level secret books are enough to take up a lot of my time. I can't digest too much at once. Xu Mengjiao pursed her lips and said, heavenly level sound skills and body movements, as well as a heavenly level swordsmanship, are you sure you don't want them? Qin Haitian blinked and looked at Xu Mengjiao with a smile on his face. Yes, why not? Xu Mengjiao's eyes lit up, but she quickly said in distress, but not now, there are so many good things, and my time is limited. Don't worry, I'll give you all these good things. Qin Haitian gently stretched out his hand and gently rubbed Xu Mengjiao's silky bangs, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and said softly. His eyes were full of pampering and care, as if the woman in front of him was the most precious person in the world. Yes, I understand, master. Xu Mengjiao raised her head slightly, stared into Qin Haitian's deep and warm eyes, and nodded vigorously. At this moment, her heart was full of anticipation and desire, because she knew that she was about to embark on an important journey of cultivation. Xu Mengjiao took a deep breath, calmed down her excitement, and nodded again, indicating that she was fully prepared. For her, the most urgent thing at the moment was to switch to the 100 Flowers Divine Art. As long as she could successfully switch to the 100 Flowers Divine Art and cultivate to the current level, she would most likely break through to the coveted Star Sea realm in one fell swoop. At this moment, Qin Haitian looked at Xu Mengjiao with a smile in his eyes, and slowly said, after you break through to the Star Sea realm, I will give you a more powerful treasure. It can greatly increase your cultivation. Hearing this, Xu Mengjiao's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and asked curiously, what good thing is it? Qin Haitian smiled slightly, shrugged his shoulders, and answered mysteriously, it's a star spirit pill. This pill is magical, it can unconditionally help you break through the 1st to 4th levels of cultivation, and there will be no side effects or sequelae. After that, he winked at Xu Mengjiao. Ah, Xu Mengjiao opened her mouth in surprise, her face full of disbelief. Then, great joy surged into her heart, causing her cheeks to instantly blush. She excitedly grabbed Qin Haitian's arm and asked eagerly, really? Master, are you telling the truth? She is full of expectations for becoming stronger. Of course it's true, how could I lie to you? Qin Haitian felt Xu Mengjiao's excitement, and the smile on his face became gentler. He gently patted the back of Xu Mengjiao's hand, signaling her to stay calm. Thank you. Xu Mengjiao was moved by what Qin Haitian did, and her eyes were slightly moist. She looked at Qin Haitian gratefully, and her eyes were full of endless tenderness and love. You're welcome. Qin Haitian shrugged casually, as if he didn't care about the matter at all, but the concern in his eyes betrayed his true feelings. Chapter 46, Martial Arts Competition. The moon is bright and the stars are sparse. Qin Haitian was driven out of the house by the extremely ashamed and angry Xu Mengjiao. Qin Haitian's plan to stay overnight was shattered, but he was not disappointed because today's progress was already very encouraging. Qin Haitian was bored, so he left this yard and turned into the yard next door. It is impossible to practice cultivation. It is impossible to practice cultivation in this lifetime. The correct way is to improve the qualifications of your Taoist partners and let them practice faster. There are also several houses in the yard next door, where Shui Hongluan and Lang Qingshuang live. What are you doing here? Shui Hongluan was practicing meditation when she was interrupted by a knock on the door. She pushed the door open and saw Qin Haitian, and said coldly. Qin Haitian came over and wanted to hug Shui Hongluan, but she dodged him. He asked in surprise, Junior sister, who made you angry? Who else could it be? Of course it's you. Shui Hongluan rolled her eyes at Qin Fei. Qin Haitian said some sweet words with a smile on his face, and then Shui Hongluan forgave Qin Fei, who made her like sweet talk. The next morning, the two chatted. Shui Hongluan looked at Qin Haitian and asked, by the way, what level has your cultivation recovered to now? The 6th level of Tongshuan realm. Then is there any way to recover as soon as possible? Next year will be the once-in-a-decade competition among all sects. This is related to the ownership of some resources, the reputation of our sect, and the subsequent recruitment of disciples. Shui Hongluan looked at Qin Haitian and asked, I think it shouldn't be a problem to recover to peak condition by then. Qin Haitian thought for a moment and said, "That's fine." Shui Hongluan nodded. Then Qin Haitian was driven out of the room by Shui Hongluan. When he left the room, he saw Lang Qingshuang practicing sword in the yard. In fact, Qin Haitian's current cultivation level is similar to Lang Qingshuang's. After Lang Qingshuang took the elixir given by Qin Haitian, her cultivation reached the perfection of the 5th level of Tongshuan realm. Not long ago, she even broke through to the 6th level of Tongshuan realm. "Qingshuang, how about we have a hearty fight?" Qin Haitian looked at Lang Qingshuang with a smile on his face and said softly. Since he stepped into this mysterious and wonderful world, although he has experienced many ups and downs, he has never really had a fair and evenly matched life and death fight or friendly fight with others. Recalling the fierce battle 2 days ago, strictly speaking, it cannot be regarded as a victory based on his own real ability. After all, at that time, he completely relied on the powerful trump card given by the system, and defeated him with an absolute crushing momentum and a power level far beyond his opponent. "HMPH, my husband, are you trying to play a trick on me again?" Lang Qingshuang's beautiful face, which usually exudes an icy aura, opened her red lips slightly, pursed them a few times, and then rolled her eyes at Qin Haitian. Qin Haitian shrugged helplessly, then explained seriously, "Madam, please don't misunderstand. In this competition, I promise that I will not use any life-saving trump cards. Moreover, my strength is no longer what it used to be, and it is comparable to yours. Therefore, it is still unknown who is stronger in this competition, and maybe you will not be the loser in the end." Lang Qingshuang also learned about Qin Haitian's injury through her master Shui Hongluan yesterday. She had only used her trump card to save her life before. "Really? Then if my husband loses, what kind of punishment will he receive?" Lang Qingshuang said with a faint smile. "If I lose, you can do whatever you want with me." "What will you do if you lose?" Qin Haitian shook his shoulders and said nonchalantly. "Want to beat me? No way. Then it's settled. If I lose, I will listen to my husband." Lang Qingshuang smiled sweetly, hooked her fingers mischievously, and said in a delicate voice. Qin Haitian raised his head and glared at Lang Qingshuang angrily, shouting, "Little witch, prepare to die." "Come on." Lang Qingshuang smiled coldly. She didn't care about the helpless and furious Qin Haitian, and she wasn't going to hold back. Chapter 47, Husband, why do you perform such a great ceremony? Bang 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 tilde tilde tilde. Qin Haitian supported his old waist with one hand and leaned on the sword while getting up from the ground. He looked at Lang Qingshuang speechlessly. "Madam, when you spar with me, can you please show some mercy? I am the headmaster, don't I have any dignity?" The two of them sparred 9 times in total, and without exception, Qin Haitian was defeated by Lang Qingshuang. "Senior brother, do you really enjoy being beaten by Qingshuang?" Shui Hongluan said sarcastically as she watched from the side. "Husband, you made me give way too obviously, everyone can see it." Lang Qingshuang said sarcastically with a cold face. "Qin Haitian, why does no one believe me when I tell the truth?" He really can't beat Lang Qingshuang. Although Lang Qingshuang's cultivation level broke through from the 1st level of Tongshuan realm to the 6th level of Tongshuan realm, which was relatively fast, it was impossible for his combat effectiveness to improve so quickly. However, Qin Haitian had no fighting experience at all. The only time was when he relied on the trump card given by the system to possess almost invincible combat power. "A decent leader, ha, just a shameless villain." Shui Hongluan sneered and attacked Qin Haitian mercilessly. In her mind, Qin Haitian was completely giving in to Lang Qingshuang. After all, although his cultivation was far from the peak, his combat experience, skills, combat instincts, etc. should not be reduced much. However, Qin Haitian, who had just suffered a series of defeats, did not show much combat experience at all. Qin Haitian looked at Shui Hongluan, who was standing aside holding a large watermelon and watching the show and making sarcastic remarks, and said with a frown, "Have you forgotten the time when you begged for mercy? You are shameless." Shui Hongluan's face flushed red, and she angrily came to Qin Haitian's side. She couldn't help but kick Qin Haitian on the butt. "My butt," Qin Haitian wailed, slid to his knees, and almost broke through the gate to get out. Obviously, Shui Hongluan still knew her limits and didn't embarrass her man too much. Squeak tilde 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 tilde. Just at this moment, the gate opened. A beautiful woman with a slightly plump oval face, clear and bright eyes under her eyebrows, and black and shiny hair poked her head out. It was Lu Ruoxian who came here for something. Looking at Qin Haitian kneeling in front of her, Lu Ruoxian opened her mouth slightly, covered her mouth and teased, "Husband, why do you do this? Why don't you get up? Is it too comfortable to kneel on the ground?" Qin Haitian. The old man felt embarrassed, but fortunately, she was his woman and he had kneeled before. If it was an outsider, it would be extremely embarrassing. "Junior sister, why are you speaking so harshly? Could it be that our relationship has faded?" Qin Haitian climbed up from the ground and sighed, looking at Shui Hongluan with resentment. "If junior sister doesn't like it, then it would be better for me to die, so that junior sister won't be upset." Shui Hongluan looked at Qin Haitian in astonishment and said angrily, "Do you have any shame? No, you're a grown man, but you suddenly act like a resentful woman, which gives me goosebumps, you know." Lu Ruoxian laughed, and it was like 100 flowers blooming. Lang Qingshuang also covered her mouth and laughed secretly, watching her man being funny. She felt happy in her heart, who said her man was so majestic. When he got angry, no one could compare to him. Qin Haitian sneered and shrugged. As a perfect man, how could he please a good woman if he was thin-skinned? Then, Qin Haitian looked at Lu Ruoxian. "By the way, is your father okay now?" "Well, it's okay. I just wanted to see you," Lu Ruoxian said a little embarrassedly, "so I came to find you." "Do you have time?" "Nothing is more important than meeting my father-in-law." Qin Haitian rubbed Lu Ruoxian's bangs and said with a smile, "Let's go and pay our respects to my father-in-law." "Yeah," Lu Ruoxian nodded embarrassedly. Speaking of which, her father is about the same age as Qin Haitian. She was worried that Qin Haitian would feel uncomfortable and would refuse, but Qin Haitian did not disappoint her. Then, the two of them talked to Shui Hongluan and Lang Qingshuang and left the yard. The two women were also busy practicing their own skills. Without Qin Haitian delaying their work, their practice speed could be greatly improved. Lu Quan sat in the living room, feeling a little restless. His daughter became a Taoist partner with a man of similar age. Normally he should have been angry, but when he found out that the man was the leader of the Baijian sect, he felt fine and was instead relieved. The Lu family is one of the 4 major families in Fengyan City, but it is slightly weaker in Nanhe country and cannot be ranked in the first echelon. What about Nanhe country? Compared with the 100 Swords sect, it is just a small country. After all, the Nanhe kingdom has to pay tribute to the Baijian sect every year to pray for peace and protection. Although the headmaster of the 100 Swords sect is not the strongest in the sect, he is second only to some of the top great elders. He is young and strong, and has a high level of cultivation. With his protection, no one in Nanhe Kingdom would dare to bully their Lu family. Of course, the most important thing is that my daughter also seems to like the other person. Not long after, Lu Quan met the man his daughter belonged to, the leader of the Baijian sect. His handsomeness, temperament, and young face with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes made him secretly sigh in admiration. He was worthy of being the leader of a sect and was impeccable in every aspect. No wonder his daughter fell in love with him. "Greetings, master." Lu Quan bowed. "My father-in-law, such a generous gift is extremely inappropriate. I am so embarrassed." Qin Haitian flashed to Lu Quan's side, helped him up, and said respectfully, "Outside, I am the head of the 100 Swords sect, but in front of you, I am just your son-in-law." He did not accept the other party's gift simply because of his status, which was inappropriate. Seeing Qin Haitian treating him respectfully, Lu Quan was very pleased. The small gap in alienation in his heart also disappeared with Qin Haitian's call of father-in-law. He smiled and said, "Then I'll call you, dear son-in-law." "That's right, father-in-law," Qin Haitian responded with a smile. The two then looked at each other and smiled. When Lu Ruoxian saw such a harmonious scene between her father and her man, she was greatly relieved. The thing she was worried about did not happen. Chapter 48 Request, Ruoxian's Boudoir. The winter wind was fierce, sweeping across the earth. The flying snow fell on the branches, eaves, and the ground, quickly wrapping everything in a thick white quilt. Qin Haitian took Lu Ruoxian's tender little hand and stepped on the snow, making a crunching sound. "Why did you agree to my father's request?" Lu Ruoxian pursed her lips and asked Qin Haitian. "It's just a few spots for joining the sect. Since my father-in-law wants them, just give them to him," Qin Haitian said with a smile. Before that, he had a simple meal with Lu Ruoxian's father Lu Quan and her mother. At the table, Lu Quan seemed to be hesitant to speak. Finally, after Qin Haitian's inquiry, he said embarrassedly that he wanted to send several young people in the family who had some aptitude for cultivation to the Baijian sect to practice. Qin Haitian naturally had no objection and agreed to this small request without thinking. If you want to join the Baijian sect, you need to pass a qualification assessment. Ordinary people can't get in. But since they're his wife's family, he naturally has no objection to a few places. Will you be criticized by others? Lu Ruoxian looked at Qin Haitian worriedly. Seeing Lu Ruoxian thinking about him, Qin Haitian smiled and said, "It doesn't matter if there are criticisms or not. If my people don't have some privileges, then what's the point of me practicing to become stronger?" "Well, don't say it, or if your father finds out, I'm afraid he will definitely complain that a daughter who is married is like water poured out." Hee. Lu Ruoxian stuck out her tongue embarrassedly. "Indeed, if my father knew about this, he would be furious. Won't you take me to your boudoir and sit for a while?" Qin Haitian looked at Lu Ruoxian with a smile. "You're not trying to do anything bad, are you?" Lu Ruoxian asked shyly. "How can learning between Taoist companions be a bad thing?" Qin Haitian hugged Lu Ruoxian and blew hot air into her ears. Then Lu Ruoxian felt her body softened. She knew that she shouldn't bring Qin Haitian to her boudoir, but after Qin Haitian's sweet words, she softened her ears and half-heartedly took Qin Haitian to her boudoir. Walking into Lu Ruoxian's attic and looking around, the tables and chairs carved from fine sandalwood are delicately engraved with different patterns, exuding the delicate and gentle feeling of a girl's home. Near the bamboo window, there are several sheets of rice paper on the rosewood table, and several brushes on the inkstone. On the rice paper are several chrysanthemum buds, and the delicate brushwork seems to declare how sentimental the owner of the boudoir is. Hanging on the bamboo window is purple gauze, swaying with the wind blowing outside the window. "Shaner, does your husband want to write a poem?" Qin Haitian looked at the desk with a wicked smile on his face. "Really? Then just do it." Lu Ruoxian's eyes lit up and she said. She was shocked by Qin Haitian's ability to compose poetry, which was also the reason why she did not reject Qin Haitian at first. She likes to practice spiritual cultivation, but in comparison, she prefers the kind of sad and lingering poetry, which feels very beautiful. The green mountains are hidden in the distance, and the water is far away. The grass in the south of the Yangtze River has not withered at the end of autumn. On the night of the bright moon over the 24 bridges, where is the beautiful woman teaching me to play the flute? Beside the quiet brothel avenue, white snow falls in front of the window. The mandarin ducks on the pond are not alone, and the suhei in the tent is still empty. The screen intentionally blocks the bright moon, and the lamp mercilessly shines on the lonely sleeper. The water in Laoshi is frozen in spring, and the wild geese in Jibei have come thousands of miles. I hope you can cross the mountains and rivers as soon as possible, and miss my peaches and plums when they were still beautiful. These two poems are undoubtedly excellent works. You know, they are classic poems that Qin Haitian carefully selected and memorized in his previous life. The exquisiteness of the verses and the profound artistic conception are beyond the reach of ordinary poems. And the handwriting is so powerful that it can penetrate the back of the paper. It is really a good handwriting. After all, Qin Fei has been immersed in the arts of music, chess, calligraphy, painting, and poetry since he was a child, and his attainments in calligraphy are the most profound. The brush calligraphy he writes already has the style of a master. Looking at Lu Ruoxian again, this beauty is not only outstanding in appearance, but also talented in both literature and martial arts. She has a very high level of understanding and comprehension of poetry and songs. Therefore, when she saw these two poems, she easily understood the deep meaning of them. The first one was written to a friend, and the second one expressed the resentment of a girl in the boudoir. Although it is not completely in line with the current situation, it is not an exaggeration to describe it as appropriate to the situation, not to mention that these two poems themselves are beautiful and moving enough. Lu Ruoxian snorted softly and said coquettishly, "HMPH, you've passed this time." After that, she gently folded the two pieces of rice paper carrying the beautiful poems, and then put them into her storage ring. At this moment, looking at the proud and lovely Lu Ruoxian in front of him, Qin Haitian couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a smile. "Shaner, the poem is also given. Next, shouldn't you fulfill your wife's duties?" Ah, Lu Ruoxian blushed when she heard that, but she did not refuse. Chapter 49 Xu Mengjiao leaves. Qin Haitian stayed with Lu Ruoxian for a while. After letting Lu Ruoxian rest in her boudoir, Qin Haitian got up and went to look for Xu Mengjiao. After all, love requires companionship and communication. When he arrived, he found a sign hanging outside Xu Mengjiao's door. "I am practicing, please do not disturb me." Qin Haitian was watching her in confusion, but he did not disturb her. She was now practicing the 100 Flowers divine art. Once the change was successful, she might be able to break through to the Star Sea realm in one fell swoop. The experience feedback she gained at that time might greatly improve her own cultivation. After practicing sword in the yard for a while, I saw Lang Qingshuang coming over. Xuanzhi, is there something you want to talk to me about? Qin Haitian stopped practicing sword and looked at Lang Qingshuang. You lost to me before, you won't deny it, right? Lang Qingshuang looked at Qin Haitian with a cold voice and said coldly, Qin Haitian, well, is my reputation so bad now? Since I promised you, I will naturally not go back on my word. Qin Haitian coughed dryly and said, seriously. The days go by one. Qin Haitian lived a fulfilling life. One day, in the yard, Xu Mengjiao said goodbye to Qin Haitian who had finished practicing sword. Speaking of which, Qin Haitian has spent a lot of time with Xu Mengjiao these days. Xu Mengjiao was worried that Qin Haitian would force her to stay, but to her surprise, Qin Haitian only gave her some things and told her to be careful. Seeing Xu Mengjiao hesitant to speak, Qin Haitian smiled and said, I know you can't accept me now. It takes time, but I will wait for the day when you truly accept me. Xu Mengjiao's eyes were red, and she looked at Qin Haitian with emotion. Well, I will figure it out as soon as possible. After saying this, Xu Mengjiao turned and left. Why don't you try to keep her? If you try to keep her, she might stay. After Xu Mengjiao left her residence, a figure appeared beside Qin Haitian. It was Shui Hongluan. Qin Haitian smiled and said, she will come back. Once you get used to your own daily sweet talk, you will find it very uncomfortable and uneasy when they leave. It's like when a person quits smoking. There will be a withdrawal reaction, and if the time is long enough, the cigarette will be quit. But there is a prerequisite, don't smoke another cigarette. Once you smoke again, you will relapse and your addiction will become worse. Qin Haitian was thinking that no matter whether Xu Mengjiao would quit smoking next time they meet, as long as he said sweet words and added some sweet touches, she would naturally recall the sweetness of the past, and then she would really fall into it. Love is like smoking, once you get addicted, it's hard to quit. Bah, scumbag. Shui Hongluan looked at the confident Qin Haitian and spat, Qin Haitian. Qin Haitian was very dissatisfied with this title, so he retorted, how am I a scumbag? I just want to give every woman I like a happy home. Tisk. Shui Hongluan looked at Qin Haitian with disdain. Why didn't she realize that this head brother was so shameless before? Seeing Shui Hongluan's mocking expression, Qin Haitian said anxiously, believe it or not, I will beat you up. You are no match for me. Shui Hongluan lifted Qin Haitian's chin, looked at him with a half smile and said, if you want to be beaten, you can try with me. My fist can't wait. Qin Haitian's face turned black when he was provoked by his wife. Life is simply unbearable. I am criticized by my wife every day. I have no dignity as the head of the family. I don't know when it started, but Shui Hongluan has been treating mocking and criticizing me as her daily routine. If her favorability had not reached 99 points, Qin Haitian would have really thought that their feelings for him had faded. That's right, Shui Hongluan's favorability is almost full. In fact, not only Shui Hongluan, Lu Ruoxian and Lang Qingshuang now have a favorability of 99 points. Even Xu Mengjiao, who just said goodbye and left, has a favorability of 95 points. This is why Qin Haitian believes that Xu Mengjiao will come back to him again soon. Chapter 50. How can we not take off by following the sect leader? How long do you plan to stay at Shauner's house? Shui Hongluan looked at Qin Haitian's helpless look with a smug smile on her face. But she couldn't spoil Qin Haitian too much, otherwise, who knows how many sisters he would find for her. Just these 2 days, Qin Haitian said after thinking for a while. He had spent quite some time in the Lu family and it was time to leave. A few days later, a flying boat flew towards the Baijian sect. It was Qin Haitian who led his men back to the sect. In addition to Qin Haitian and his 3 women, Shui Hongluan, Lang Qingshuang and Lu Ruoxian, there were also several young men from the Lu family on the flying boat. After all, Qin Haitian had promised Lu Ruoxian's father before, so he would naturally not go back on his word. On the flying boat, several young people from the Lu family were sitting in the cabin, chatting excitedly. In the past, they had only heard that some top-level aircraft could soar in the sky, but now that they were sitting in it themselves, how could they not be excited? However, they all remembered what the head of the family said, that they could not rely on Qin Haitian's relationship to do whatever they wanted in the Baijian sect. They naturally kept this in mind. Although their Lu family was one of the top families in Fengyan City, they had a very good family education, and the title of a scholarly family was not self-boasting, but was passed down by word of mouth. After a day and a night, the flying boat landed on the main peak of Baijian sect. Qin Haitian then called an inner sect steward and gave him some instructions, asking him to make arrangements for several disciples of the Lu family. The inner sect steward took the order and left with a few people. Although Qin Haitian did not say much, the inner sect steward knew everything very well, because some days ago, a piece of news was circulating in the sect that the outer sect disciple Lu Ruoxian had become Qin Haitian's Taoist partner. It was not certain before, but now it is completely certain. After all, the sect master went out for a while and came back with a few disciples of the Lu family. Isn't this a disguised way of telling everyone that Lu Ruoxian has become his Taoist partner? Lu Ruoxian reported and became an inner disciple. She had never reported her strength before, so her status did not change. Lu Ruoxian's residence was arranged near the main peak, which was naturally for the convenience of Qin Haitian himself. After all, he wanted to help Lu Ruoxian improve her qualifications, and since the distance was short, it would be convenient to call her. On the second day after Qin Haitian returned to the sect, many people learned a piece of news, that is, the newly promoted inner disciple Lu Ruoxian became the sect master's Taoist partner, which made many people not know what to say. Qin Mofei was jealous of Lu Ruoxian and Yang Shan because of the fight between them, but in the end Lu Ruoxian turned against his mother. Tisk tisk, I wonder how big the shadow in Qin Mofei's heart is. Didn't Qin Mofei leave the sect? Obviously he can't accept it. I don't know if you have heard that Qin Mofei is not actually the sect master's biological son. Is this true or false? As the saying goes, there is no smoke without fire. Since this news has been spread, I think it is most likely true. Tisk tisk, what a miserable Qin Mofei. You know, I used to hate Qin Mofei to bits. There must be something hateful about pitiful people. Qin Mofei was so arrogant in the past, and he is so pathetic now. Maybe God can't stand his arrogance. Come to think of it, I used to admire Lu Ruoxian very much. Now, let's bless her. She has many benefits following the sect master. Just look, a month or two ago, she was still in the Qi training stage, but now she has reached the foundation establishment stage. The sect master is so rich and has so many resources. If I follow the sect master, how can I not take off? News about Qin Haitian was flying everywhere in the sect. However, Qin Haitian was unmoved, because he was the one who secretly fanned the flames of some of the news. Otherwise, how could so many people dare to criticize the sect leader? But a few days later, a summons stunned Qin Haitian. Master, the Grand Elder invites you. An elder who was delivering the message came over and said, Chapter 51 I have an immature idea as an 8th grade sect with a history of thousands of years. The Baijian sect has a very deep foundation. There are more than 10 supreme elders in the Daotai realm. Of course, not only the Baijian sect, but the 8 8th grade sects in the entire Qingzhou are almost all sects with a history of thousands of years. A sect can only be called an 8th grade sect if it has a Daotai level expert in charge. First, the lifespan of a cultivator in the Daotai realm is 500 years. Second, no matter how strong a cultivator in the Xinghai realm is, he will be defeated when facing a cultivator in the Daotai realm, because a cultivator in the Daotai realm has already mastered part of the power of Dao, which is a power far higher than the level of true Qi. Qin Haitian naturally could not disobey the summons of the Supreme Elder. After all, the Supreme Elder had the power to appoint and dismiss the sect leader. Of course, his predecessor was chosen as the sect leader with the support of more than half of the Supreme Elders. Similarly, in order to remove the sect leader, the consent of more than half of the Supreme Elders is required. Not long after, Qin Haitian arrived at the forbidden area of Hundred Swords sect. Some sect masters who passed away are Supreme Elders, as well as predecessors who made outstanding contributions to the Baijian sect, are buried here. When Qin Haitian came here, he was greeted by a rich spiritual energy. The Baijian sect was established here because there is an 8th grade spiritual vein underground. The main peak of Qin Haitian is the place with the richest spiritual energy among all the peaks, but it is still incomparable to the forbidden area. In fact, this is normal. Otherwise, how could most of the powerful people in the Daotai realm choose to practice in seclusion here? Moreover, after the strong men in the Star Sea realm or Daotai realm pass away, their bodies can be transformed into huge nutrients to nourish this world. Qin Haitian was led into a hall where 5 or 6 men and women were sitting. Some of them still looked graceful, some looked very old, and some were middle-aged. Greetings to all the supreme elders. Qin Haitian bowed and saluted. Facing these big guys, Qin Haitian kept a very low profile. Along the way, he was guessing the purpose of these supreme elders summoning him. Could it be related to the rumors about him and Lu Ruoxian? I heard that you and a disciple in our sect became a couple. One of the beautiful women looked at Qin Haitian and asked calmly. Yes. Qin Haitian laughed dryly, but still admitted it honestly, because there was no need to hide it, and he didn't believe that the supreme elders would purge their sect just because of this. Your emotional affairs have actually affected your dignity as the leader of the sect and the image of our sect. Do you know that? The beautiful woman asked calmly. As the saying goes, when love comes, it cannot be stopped. We fell in love and became Taoist couples. We didn't violate any heavenly rules, right? If the supreme elders think I am wrong, Haitian can't say anything. And I never think that the dignity of a sect leader and the image of the sect will be affected by such a matter between a man and a woman. Qin Haitian said without changing his expression. Oh, interesting little fellow. When the beautiful woman heard what Qin Haitian said, she smiled rarely. I asked you to come here, not for such a small matter, but because I have other things to tell you. Qin Haitian secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He naturally didn't want to conflict with these supreme elders. Uncle Master, please explain. The Lord of Chaos City is about to celebrate his 300th birthday, and we hope you can go there on behalf of the 100 Swords sect. Said the beautiful woman. The 300th birthday of the City Lord of Chaos. Qin Haitian's eyes flashed, and at this moment, he couldn't help but think of one thing in his mind, that is, the last time he met Yongshan's opportunity was in Chaos City. Because he was busy teaching his woman later, he had no time to snatch Yongshan's opportunity from Qin Haitian. But now, the sect actually wants to send him on a trip. Could it be that there is a will of heaven, and that he wants to snatch Yongshan's opportunity away? Of course, the prerequisite is that Yongshan's opportunity has not yet been given to him. Is there anything special about the Lord of Chaos City? Do I need to go there in person? Qin Haitian asked tentatively. The Lord of Chaos City is a big shot from the sect master's family. At this time, an old man with a goatee said, the power behind him is very strong. Of course, not counting the power behind him, he himself is also a top-level strong man. All the Daotai realm strong men in our sect may not be his opponent even if they join forces. As soon as these words came out, Qin Haitian took a breath of cold air. Could it be that the City Lord is an existence beyond the Daotai realm? If that's the case, even if I were possessed by the 3-second true man pill, I might not be able to beat him. After all, the 3 seconds true man pill is only a 5-star treasure. Once taken, it can have the invincible combat power of the Daotai realm, but it only lasts for 3 seconds. If the opponent is above the Daotai realm, then it goes without saying. Even if not, I can't kill the opponent, right? Of course, this is the worst-case scenario, that is, to become an enemy of the opponent. Even if he is not beyond the Daotai realm, he is still invincible in the Daotai realm. A middle-aged man took over and said, 100 years ago, he was able to kill a Daotai realm 8th-level strongman who was causing trouble. 100 years have passed. How strong do you think he is? No wonder my predecessor didn't know about the situation of the Lord of Chaos City, because 100 years ago, my predecessor was not yet born. After that, he was only concerned with cultivation and management of the sect, so naturally he didn't know some secret things. I understand what you mean, gentlemen. You want me to make friends with the mayor of the City of Chaos, right? Qin Haitian said, looking at the supreme elders. You can say that, but it would be more accurate to say that we hope you can pick a few outstanding male disciples from the sect to take with you, said the beautiful woman. What's the point of bringing a few outstanding male disciples? Qin Haitian was stunned. Could it be that the City Lord was attracted to men? According to the information we received, the City Lord has a daughter named Shujirqing, who is in her 20s and very pretty. He dotes on this little girl very much and plans to find a suitable Taoist partner for her on his birthday. The beautiful woman said, we naturally hope that our sect's disciples can be favored by the City Lord's daughter and become Taoist partners. If so, our Baijian sect will get a huge boost. There are so many benefits, I don't need to say more. Ding tilde 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 tilde, task release. Defeat all competitors, bind the goddess Shujirqing, and successfully become a Taoist partner with the goddess Shujurqing. Success reward. Cultivation level will be directly promoted to the first level of Xinghai realm. Failure penalty. Cultivation level will drop to the first level of Tongshuan realm. Qin Haishan almost cursed. This was the daughter of the city lord, whom he had slept with all his might. It was imaginable how difficult it would be for him to become her partner. Because if you make a good impression at the beginning, if you don't handle it well, you may lose your life. If you make a bad impression at the beginning, even if you are bound to the other party, it will be difficult for you to break through the siege and win the beauty. After all, being bound to someone doesn't mean that she is your woman, but this mission is mandatory. If I fail to complete it, my cultivation level will be greatly reduced, and my long-cherished dream of ruling the world with a sword will be postponed again. Well, I have an immature idea, but I don't know whether I should say it or not. Qin Haishan suppressed the urge to curse and looked at the several supreme elders, seeming to be hesitant to speak. Just say whatever you think. Don't stutter or hesitate. The beautiful woman frowned. Everyone agreed. That's right. I was wondering if I could also participate in the competition. Qin Haishan said with a dry laugh. When everyone heard this, they almost choked, coughed for a long time, and looked at each other. Chapter 52. Master, she was stunning when she was young. Several great elders were stunned for a long time because of Qin Haishan's words. Finally, the beautiful woman looked at Qin Haishan speechlessly and said, "Are you sure you are not afraid of being embarrassed?" Although Qin Haishan is a junior compared to the City Lord of Chaos, he is 30 years older than the City Lord's daughter after all. Moreover, the so-called young talents in Qingzhou refer to those geniuses under the age of 30. Although Qin Haishan could be called a genius when he was young, he is now in his 50s or 60s after all. Compared with those geniuses under the age of 30, he has become a senior. Moreover, the forces heading to the City of Chaos this time are not only their Baijian sect, the other 7 8th grade sects will surely send birthday celebration teams as well. They are all young people participating in the competition. Is it appropriate for the leader of your sect to personally go out? You will definitely be ridiculed by others at that time. Ahem, the 100 Sword sect is like my home. For the 100 Sword sect to flourish, my personal honor and disgrace are not important. Qin Haishan said righteously. We all know the importance of marrying the Lord of Chaos City. For this, I can sacrifice my masculinity. Hearing Qin Haishan's enlightening words, the corners of the mouths of several supreme elders could not help but twitch. It's up to you. As long as you succeed, we will be so happy, said the beautiful woman with a cough. That's right, keep going. We strongly support you. All the great elders spoke up one after another. Since the supreme elders have said so, I wonder if you could provide us with some resource support. For example, spiritual weapons, elixirs, secret manuals, top-grade spiritual stones and other treasures. I will accept them all, Qin Haishan said, rubbing his hands and looking at the elders expectantly. Suddenly, the corners of the mouths of the great elders could not help but twitch again. Is this still the decent headmaster they had chosen before? Why is he so shameless now? But the words have been said, and it is hard to go back on them, otherwise it would be too embarrassing. Qin Haishan had the nerve to ask for something, but they were embarrassed to not give him anything. Moreover, the things they gave could not be too inferior, otherwise, wouldn't it seem that they were more stingy than the other supreme elders? Therefore, each of the supreme elders reluctantly took out a treasure that was highly coveted by the top-level cultivators in the Star Sea realm. One of them gave a top-grade spiritual sword, one gave a top-grade spiritual stone, one gave a local-level body movement secret book, and another gave a bottle of top-grade healing medicine. In all, the one who gave the most valuable gift was the beautiful woman, who gave Qin Haishan a rejuvenation pill. This anti-aging pill does not have a specific grade, but its value is more precious than the others. Of course, this is mainly because it is very rare. It is said that the recipe has been lost. Scarcity makes things valuable. Its value may be more valuable than the other 4 combined. This beautiful woman is actually over 400 years old, but why does she look only in her 30s? It's because she once took a beauty pill. In short, Qin Haishan reaped a lot. Hurry and get ready. If it doesn't work, I'll hold you responsible. After each of the supreme elders warned Qin Haishan, they left in a flash, fearing that if they ran too slowly, Qin Haishan would come to them to ask for the treasures. Finally, only the beautiful woman was left. Master. Qin Haishan looked at the beautiful woman and said respectfully. Yes, the identity of this beautiful woman is the Grand Master of his previous life, because her apprentice was the master of his previous life. Of course, there were so many supreme elders present before, so it was not convenient for him to call her alone. Have you recovered from your hidden illness? The beautiful woman looked at Qin Haitian and asked after a moment of hesitation. What hidden disease? Qin Haitian blinked. You are still hiding it from me. Isn't the technique you practice the 100 flowers divine art? The beautiful woman snorted. Just because others don't know the introductory method of practicing the 100 flowers divine art doesn't mean I don't know it, because I used to be a good friend of a palace master of the 100 flowers palace and I have a brief understanding of it. Qin Haitian's expression froze. Not only do I know, your master knows it too. The beautiful woman glanced at Qin Haitian unhappily and said, of course, she knows it because I told her. By the way, do you know why she went to Zhongzhou? Qin Haitian felt guilty. He naturally didn't know this, mainly because his predecessor didn't know either. Because it is said that there is a method in Zhongzhou to regenerate a broken arm, and she wants to help you find it. Maybe you can become a man again. The beautiful woman snorted. Cough cough. Qin Haitian was choked. The method of regenerating a broken arm can regenerate even a broken arm, so naturally anything can be restored as well. I'm fine now. Qin Haitian laughed dryly. Of course I know you're fine. To be honest, you and the other disciples are all Taoist couples. Although I say this has a bad influence, I'm actually very happy in my heart. Your master has always hoped that you would become a real man. The beautiful woman looked at Qin Haitian unhappily and said, also, you said you were looking for a Taoist couple. With your qualifications, why did you choose a disciple? Isn't your junior sister Hongluan good? She is deeply in love with you, and she is stunningly beautiful and talented. I feel that there is no one more suitable than her. Well, junior sister Hongluan is actually also my Taoist partner. Qin Haitian said embarrassedly. Beautiful woman. The beautiful woman stared at Qin Haitian with her pretty eyes, which made Qin Haitian feel guilty. It must be said that although this master was more than 400 years old, her appearance was really amazing, with the beauty of having experienced ups and downs. It's like fine wine, the longer it ages, the sweeter and more flavorful it becomes. Subconsciously activated the detector. Suddenly, the information about the beautiful woman came into Qin Haitian's eyes. Open black lens bracket. Name: Han Yun. Close black lens bracket. Age: 489. Cultivation: Dao Tai Realm 10th level. Perfection. Appearance: 89. Because he is nearing the end of his life, his body functions have deteriorated. Severely open black lens bracket. Talent index: 5,920 points. Close black lens bracket. Favorability: 81. Love the house and the dog. Qin Haitian was secretly moved when he saw this. No wonder those people before were led by their master. It turned out that her strength was so strong. She had reached the 10th level of Dao Tai Realm. I'm afraid her combat effectiveness was among the top 10 in the whole Qingzhou. Seeing that her body functions had seriously deteriorated, but her appearance was still 89, Qin Haitian secretly wondered how stunning and beautiful must have been when her master was young. Qin Haitian also understood why the detector did not start automatically, because Han Yun did not meet the binding standard, that is, her appearance was not above 90. What if our great master's cultivation breaks through the Dao Tai realm and reaches a higher level? Qin Haitian knew that above the Dao Tai realm was the Four Symbols realm. A cultivator in the Four Symbols realm had a lifespan of 800 years. Once they broke through the Dao Four Symbols mirror, their body functions would be able to regain youthful vitality, and perhaps they would be able to reach the standard for binding. What are you looking at? The beautiful woman looked at Qin Haitian angrily. Why was the way this boy looked at her so wrong? It was just like the way those suitors looked at her when she was young. This guy, he wouldn't be so indifferent to meat and vegetables. He has his own ideas about himself, right? When I thought of this, I wanted to slap Qin Haitian away. This bad thing. Ahem, I didn't see anything. Qin Haitian's old face turned red and he hurriedly explained, despising himself in his heart. How could he fantasize about his master? He was such a piece of shit. But he didn't know why. Looking at his master's cheeks that were flushed due to anger, he was actually moved. He kept chanting Amitabha in his heart to suppress the unbearable and charming thoughts. Chapter 53. Junior sister, let's talk nicely. Han Yun looked at his disciple, who had always been a decent person in her heart. She saw that the look in his eyes was not right, as if he wanted to eat her. She was furious and wanted to beat him up. Still looking, Han Yun stared at Qin Haitian coldly. Qin Haitian looked at his master, who almost exploded with anger and had a very strange expression on his face. He smiled and said repeatedly, "Master, I know how good you are to me. I also have a small gift for you. I'm already half dead and about to be buried in the ground. What gift do I need from a youngster like you?" Han Yun snorted coldly and was about to leave. "This is the 100 Flowers Divine Art and the matching 100 Flowers Sword Manual. Since Master is unable to break through to the 4 Symbols realm through normal means, why not switch to practicing the 100 Flowers Divine Art?" Qin Haitian took out the 100 Flowers Divine Art and the 100 Flowers Sword Manual and handed them to Han Yun. Suddenly, Han Yun stopped trying to turn around, and her body trembled involuntarily. "Is this the little gift you want to give me?" Han Yun's emotions fluctuated greatly, and her voice was a little hoarse because of excitement. "This is not just a small gift, it is the hope for the continuation of life. It's Haitian who is such a bad guy." Qin Haitian sighed, "I have this good thing, but I have been hiding it. I hope you can forgive me." He was scolding his predecessor Qin Haitian, not himself, for having such a good thing to enjoy alone. To be honest, both the predecessor's Grand Master and the Master were very kind to her. They all knew that Qin Haitian had this thing, but they did not think of seizing it. This shows how principled they are. Qin Haitian would never admit that he gave this thing to his master in order to make her prettier. The disciple respects his master. What a harmonious and friendly thing. How can you slander him, who has a simple mind, as having bad intentions? "Okay, good boy." Han Yun took the 2 secret books handed over by Qin Haitian with trembling hands. Compared with the 100 Flowers Sword Manual, she wanted the 100 Flowers Divine Art more, because the quality of the swordsmanship had little impact on her. Because her life was about to end, what was the use of having powerful swordsmanship? You can't take it with you when you die, but the 100 Flowers Divine Art is different. Once you successfully switch to practicing it, there is a great possibility that you will break through to the 4 Symbols realm in one fell swoop. Because the master of the 100 Flowers magic has a method to condense the true meaning of the 4 symbols. There is no method to condense earth-level skills, and it is too difficult to create one on one's own. The corners of Qin Haitian's mouth twitched. He felt embarrassed to be called a good boy at such an old age. But he felt relieved after thinking about it, because Han Yun was almost 500 years old. Even if he was calculated according to the age of his previous life, he was only 56 or 57 years old. It was normal for him to be called a child. The cultivation world had to adapt to this. After all, this was not the blue planet where he lived in his previous life. "I'll return it to you after I finish my training." Han Yun took a deep breath and said seriously, "Master, just take it and practice with it. There's no need to return it in a hurry." Qin Haitian shrugged and said nonchalantly. He really didn't value this thing very much, because it was just a 5-star practice secret book, which was only enough to practice to the 4 Symbols realm. For a higher realm, the 100 Flowers Divine Art would not be enough. Han Yun looked at Qin Haitian with mixed feelings. She had not expected that Qin Haitian would have changed so much from before. Okay. Han Yun said 3 s in a row, and then she flipped her hand, and a fiery red bead appeared in her hand. She handed it to Qin Haitian and said, "Take this." "What is this?" Qin Haitian asked in surprise. "This is the Thunderbolt Fire Bomb. It is an opportunity I got when I went to Zhongzhou a few years ago." Han Yun said, "What's the use of this thing?" "To blow people up." Qin Haitian blinked and said as he took the bead. "Yes, this Thunderbolt Fire Bomb contains extremely terrifying fire energy. Once it is activated, it will fly out like a thunderbolt and then explode. The power of the explosion is so strong that ordinary 4 Symbols realm cultivators may be killed if they are not careful." Han Yun nodded seriously and said, "I give it to you to save your life." This. Qin Haitian took a breath of cold air. "This thing is much more valuable than my 3-second real man pill." Then, Han Yun told Qin Haitian the specific method of activating the Thunderbolt Fire Bomb. Qin Haitian did not hesitate to accept this life-saving trump card. "Okay, you go back," Han Yun said to Qin Haitian, with a hint of urgency in her eyes. Speaking of it, the lifespan of Daotai realm is 500 years, but that is the limit. To put it nicely, she may still live for about 10 years. To put it bluntly, she may die at any time. She can't afford to delay. Qin Haitian nodded, and before leaving, he glanced at his master Han Yun, and the corners of his mouth almost twitched, because the master's favorability had reached 99 points, almost full. If you want to bind, you can imagine how difficult it is, because you have to raise the favorability to at least 0 before you can bind. Qin Haitian shook his head, dispelled the strange thoughts in his mind, and left. Watching Qin Haitian's departing figure, Han Yun was somewhat speechless. Qin Haitian's undisguised gaze just now made her feel very uncomfortable. How could this brat suddenly become like this? It was hard to tell whether it was good or bad. If it was in the past, he would never have handed over the 100 Flowers Divine Art and 100 Flowers Sword Manual. But Qin Haitian in the past never looked at himself as a woman. That's all. It won't hurt to be looked at by this brat. Han Yun dispelled all these thoughts and flashed back to her cave. From today on, she would switch to practicing the 100 Flowers Divine Art. If she succeeded, she would have to make one final attempt. If she succeeded, the 100 Swords sect would be able to become the #1 sect in Qingzhou. But if she failed, the impact would not be that great, because my life is almost over. After Qin Haitian returned to the main peak, orders were issued one after another. He selected some male disciples with excellent talents and extraordinary strength. Although he had planned to go on the field himself, it would not look good if he went on the field directly when the time came. In addition to those disciples, he also selected several peak masters and elders to go together. After all, he is only at the 8th level of Tongshuan realm now. When encountering an attack from a powerful person at Qinghai realm, he can't just use his trump card, right? After learning that Qin Haitian was going to take people to the City of Chaos, Shui Hongluan rushed over directly. "Junior sister, let's talk it over. Put down the sword quickly," Qin Haitian said with fear as he looked at Shui Hongluan with the sword on his neck. If he was not careful, he might be sent away. "Are you tired of me?" Shui Hongluan looked at Qin Haitian straight and said coldly. "Junior sister, why do you say that?" Qin Haitian smiled bitterly when he heard that. "Then why did you bring so many peak masters and elders to the City of Chaos, but left me out? Are you fed up with it, or something?" Shui Hongluan said angrily. Qin Haitian was helpless. Why didn't he bring Shui Hongluan? Because ostensibly he was going to celebrate someone's birthday, but in fact, he had another purpose, which was to capture Xu Zhiqing and complete the system's task. If Shui Hongluan was present, how could he show off his skills? If Shui Hongluan saw him, she would definitely be jealous. He went there to seduce girls, on the emperor's orders, so how could he have the energy to distract himself and try to please Shui Hongluan? Not only Shui Hongluan, but also Leng Qingshuang and Lu Ruoxian, he didn't plan to bring them with him, but how should I explain it now? If I don't explain it clearly, Shui Hongluan might really break up with me. Who made her love me too deeply now? People like her are prone to get stuck in a dead end. Chapter 54. Listen to me. Seeing Shui Hongluan staring at him, with a look that said, "I want to hear your explanation," Qin Haitian coughed and said, "Listen to my story." Well, let me explain to you." Qin Haitian almost let the cat out of the bag, and said repeatedly, "Actually, the biggest purpose of going to Chaos City this time, in addition to celebrating the birthday of the Lord of Chaos City, is..." Qin Haitian told Shui Hongluan everything. Of course, the only thing he left out was the most important reason why he didn't let her go, which was that he was going to take care of the matter himself. "In this case, even if I go, it won't matter, right?" Shui Hongluan frowned and looked at Qin Haitian, and said suspiciously, "You don't want to go there yourself, do you? How can it be said that the people who know you best are often the people around you? How could that be? I don't even know whether the city lord's daughter is beautiful or ugly. How could I be interested in her? Besides, I already have several stunning women like you. How could I possibly flirt with other women? Do you think I'm the kind of scumbag who falls in love with every woman he meets?" Qin Haitian said helplessly, giving people the feeling that he was very aggrieved. "Aren't you the kind of scumbag who falls in love with every girl he meets?" Shui Hongluan looked at Qin Haitian and said in confusion, "Qin Haitian, no matter whether she is beautiful or ugly, it won't affect me going there. It seems that our feelings have really faded," Shui Hongluan said resentfully. Qin Haitian smiled bitterly and said, "If she is not good-looking, wouldn't it overshadow her if you went? If so, she might be full of hostility towards our Baijian sect. You are a woman, you should understand women, right? If you say so, it makes sense." After hearing what Qin Haitian said, Shui Hongluan thought for a while and nodded. Seeing that Shui Hongluan was convinced by him, Qin Haitian breathed a sigh of relief. "But what if she is very beautiful? Will you be in trouble?" Shui Hongluan suddenly said. Qin Haitian said helplessly, "I am more than 30 years older than the girl, and her father, the Lord of Chaos City, is most likely a top master of the Four Symbols realm. How could he let his daughter marry an old man like me? Moreover, she is one of my women. If you put yourself in her shoes, you will know that this is impossible. Well, you passed. Shui Hongluan nodded with satisfaction and put away the sword. Also, there is another reason why I won't let you go. That is, I hope you can break through to the Daotai realm as soon as possible so that you can become a solid supporter behind me. Qin Haishan looked at Shui Hongluan with deep love and said, after all, I am only at the Tongshuan realm now, and I need you to protect me. Other women are all very heroic, but you, on the other hand, still expect your own woman to protect you. You are really hopeless. Shui Hongluan blushed and said to Qin Haishan unhappily, but for some reason, she felt vaguely happy in her heart. Because she could feel from Qin Haishan's words that he was very dependent on her. This made her feel inexplicably satisfied. I just want to eat your bowl of soft rice, junior sister. Junior sister, do you want me to eat it? Qin Haishan stepped forward and hugged Shui Hongluan's waist, rubbed her cheek with his chin, and said with a smile. Stop rubbing it, my face is so itchy. Shui Hongluan pulled Qin Haishan's chin aside and said shyly with a flushed face. It was obvious that she liked Qin Haishan's intimacy, but her modesty did not allow her to take the initiative too much. After communicating with Shui Hongluan for a day or two, the radiant Shui Hongluan fled back to her Hongluan peak. After Shui Hongluan escaped, Qin Haishan secretly breathed a sigh of relief, because he couldn't just accompany his junior sister and forget about the other two women. In this way, time passed slowly in the midst of enthusiastic and enjoyable learning. During the study in the past few days, Qin Haishan also took the time to tell them that he would go to the City of Chaos next and would not take them with him. He asked them to practice well in the sect. They knew about this before, but they did not ask to follow like Shui Hongluan did. Of course, they actually wanted to, but when facing Qin Haishan, they were not as strong as Shui Hongluan, so they obeyed obediently and just expressed their expectations, hoping that Qin Haishan would come back soon. Qin Haishan naturally agreed with a pat on his chest. This day, the flying boat took off above the square in front of the main peak. When the flying boat is expanded to its largest size, it can easily carry dozens of people. Qin Haishan brought a total of 16 people to the City of Chaos this time. 6 peak masters or inner sect elders of the Star Sea realm, and 10 young disciples with different talents. Although he was prepared to go there himself, it seemed inappropriate not to bring his disciples with him. After all, if others brought their disciples and he didn't, he would seem too out of place. This was contrary to his plan. Besides, as the chief assistant, he had to take them out to see the world. Chapter 55 The Stunning Beauty Shuzherqing City of Chaos. Although the name contains the word, chaos, in fact, it is not chaotic at all now, but well organized. No matter what happens outside, few people dare to kill in the Chaos City. Once they do so, they will almost certainly die. So why is it called the Chaos City? That's because 100 years ago, this place was indeed chaotic. It became orderly because the current Chaos City Lord took over more than 100 years ago, killed too many people, and then used his powerful strength to establish a new order. However, he did not change the name of the city, and it still carried the name of Chaos. Why did this person come to the City of Chaos and why did he want to govern the chaos in this City of Chaos? No one knows the specific reasons, and all they have are just some speculations. The flying boat landed not far outside the gate of the City of Chaos. This chaotic city has a city defense formation, which also has the power to ban the air. Once Qin Haishan's flying boat flies over, it will definitely be attacked by the formation. At that time, the flying boat may be damaged and a group of disciples may die tragically. In fact, the Baijian sect also has a large sect protection formation. The reason why the flying boat can enter and exit freely is naturally because Qin Haishan has a formation plate of the sect protection formation on him. Although he cannot control the entire formation, he has no problem controlling the flying boat in and out. Qin Haishan took the sect's cultivators off the flying boat and did not rush into the city. Instead, he saw another flying boat landing not far away. Haha, isn't this sect Master Qin? How come you look younger the more you practice? If I didn't know, I would have thought you were practicing some technique to rejuvenate yourself. One of the middle-aged men with a rough complexion put away his flying boat and walked towards Qin Haishan and the others with a group of cultivators, greeting Qin Haishan with a laugh. All of a sudden, the memories of this burly man emerged, and Qin Haishan immediately understood this man, the leader of the 8th grade sect Nanqiangmen, Li Yujin. At the same time, the detector was activated. Open black lens bracket. Name: Lee Eugen. Close black lens bracket. Age: 63. Cultivation: perfection of the 10th level of the Star Sea Realm. Luck value: 13,000 points. Likability rating: 33 points. This is better than an acquaintance, a superficial friend. Master Lee, how are you? Qin Haitian also smiled and shrugged, saying, I also want the rejuvenation technique, but unfortunately, how can a mortal like me get it? I just ate some natural treasures, so I look younger. Let's go into the city together. No problem, Lee Eugen responded with a smile, and then said with emotion, Tisk tisk, this natural treasure is extraordinary. It can actually make you look a lot younger. If you don't know, you would think we are 2 generations apart. The two walked side by side towards the city of chaos. Other elders from the 2 sects, peak masters, disciples and the like who were familiar with each other also chatted with each other. I wonder what gift Brother Qin has prepared for City Lord Shu's birthday. Lee Eugen asked, looking at Qin Haitian expectantly. It's just a painting, not worthy of being presented in a grand ceremony. Qin Haitian shrugged and said with a smile, where's Brother Lee? A painting? Lee Eugen was a little surprised. He paused and said, I have prepared a treasure from heaven and earth. It seems that Brother Lee's natural treasures are worth a lot of money. Qin Haitian boasted with a smile. I feel that the calligraphy and painting prepared by Brother Qin is somewhat unexpected, and may be more likely to be favored by City Lord Shu. Lee Eugen shook his head and said, speaking of which, I am more optimistic about Brother Qin's gift. The rare treasures he prepared were indeed of great value. Ordinary rare treasures were not something that they, the Nanchang men, could afford. I just thought that City Lord Shu is knowledgeable, so I came up with the idea of preparing a painting. I just hope that City Lord Shu won't kick me out when the time comes, then I'll be satisfied. Qin Haitian laughed. Brother Qin, how much do you know about City Lord Shu? Lee Eugen looked at Qin Haitian expectantly. I don't know much. To be honest, if some of the great elders in the sect hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known. Qin Haitian shrugged and said, where's Brother Lee? In my previous life, I knew too little about City Lord Shu of the City of Chaos. After learning that City Lord Shu was about to celebrate his 300th birthday a few days ago, I asked the sect's intelligence hall to collect some relevant information about City Lord Shu. The reason why he prepared a painting was based on his understanding of City Lord Shu. City Lord Shu was an elegant man, otherwise he would not have raised a daughter who was proficient in music, chess, calligraphy and painting. To be honest, I don't know much about him, because City Lord Shu is too low-key. He was most famous more than 100 years ago, when I was not even born. Before that, I always thought that the best master in Qingzhou was the old master of Baihua Palace. Lee Eugen said, spreading his hands. Same here. Qin Haitian touched his nose and said with a smile. Because City Lord Shu's birthday was still 2 or 3 days away, they naturally would not choose to trouble their master now, but chose to find an inn to stay in the City of Chaos. Chaos City was already very lively. As City Lord Shu approached his 300th birthday, and City Lord Shu spread the word that he would find a good husband for his daughter on the occasion of his birthday, all the major sects that knew about City Lord Shu came with their heads or deputy heads, hoping that their forces could have a closer relationship with City Lord Shu, who was probably the best master in Qingzhou. City of Chaos, City Lord's mansion. A woman walked out of her boudoir accompanied by her maid. She was wearing a light gray pearl-embroidered half-sleeved gown with a curved hem, a lotus-red skirt with a pattern of plum blossoms and gold brocade, a light pink pine needle cape, a pair of hairpins in her hair, golden hairpins in her delicate hair, silk earrings on her ears, crystal bracelets on her slender hands, a corset with a pattern of golden flowers on her slender waist, and a butterfly-shaped corset on her waist. She was wearing a flowered brocade sachet and slippers embroidered with magnolia flowers and beads. She had an oval face, lightly drawn eyebrows and spring in her eyes. Her skin was as smooth as warm jade and as soft as cream. Her cherry lips were rosy without any lipstick and very pretty. 2 strands of hair on her cheeks brushed softly in the wind, adding a touch of alluring charm. Her eyes moved cleverly, with a hint of mischief and playfulness. She was wearing a light green long skirt and her waist was so thin that it could be held in one hand. She was so flawless and otherworldly. And she is none other than City Lord Shu's daughter, Shu Zhiqing. Miss, are we really going to leave the house? There have been all kinds of people coming to the city recently. If someone accidentally bumps into you. The maid followed closely, with a depressed look on her face, and asked in a low voice. Yes, if you don't want to follow, just go back and stay here. Shu Jurqing interrupted the maid with a cute voice, snorted and said. How can that be possible? The maid Xiaoyun said helplessly. If anything happens to you, the master will definitely hang me up and beat me. Bah, what can happen to me? You're such a pessimist, Shu Jurqing said angrily. Then miss, please wear a veil. Otherwise, if people see your peerless beauty, it might attract the covetousness of some ill-intentioned people, and then they might do something bad. The maid Xiaoyun said pitifully, trying to compromise. Well, then, there's really nothing we can do with you, a maid. Upon hearing this, Shu Jurqing looked at the maid like a little adult. Maid Xiaoyun. Isn't it that you can't do anything to me, my servant? But she is the master and I am the servant. As long as the master is happy, whatever she says is fine. It's not the first time or the second time that I have to take the blame. Chapter 56. You have stories and I have wine. Oh, I'm wearing a veil when I go out, why are there still so many people trying to chat me up? Shu Jurqing got rid of a few more harassers and complained to the maid who was following her with a helpless look on her face. My lady, the veil can only slightly cover your charm, but it can't cover your temperament. Isn't it normal for those stinky men to take the initiative to chat with you? The little maid Xiaoyun said helplessly. Miss, can we go back to the mansion? No, I finally came out, how can I just go back like this? If you want to go back, you can go back by yourself. I won't go back, Shu Jurqing snorted and said, my father insisted on finding a Taoist partner for me, so I have to find out about the so-called young heroes in advance. Oh, the maid Xiaoyun sighed helplessly. She had no idea what to do with Shu Jurqing. Miss, the master will have his birthday in a few days. You won't be able to find what you want by then. Why bother looking for it yourself? What if you get cheated? Being cheated? Do you mean I'm stupid? Shu Jurqing looked at the maid Xiaoyun with dissatisfaction. No, the maid Xiaoyun said repeatedly. I just want to say that people are treacherous. Isn't it better to have the master personally check? He can find someone for you at will. Humph. Shu Jurqing snorted coldly. Who knows why he suddenly wants to find a Taoist partner for me? He said before that he would spoil me for the rest of my life, but now he is so impatient to give me away. I don't believe he will really find a Taoist partner for me. Hearing Shu Jurqing's words, the maid Xiaoyun hesitated to speak, because she was also very puzzled. She naturally saw the master's love for Shu Jurqing, but this time it was very sudden, as if he was explaining his last wishes. Could it be that something happened to the master? But it didn't seem like it. What's wrong? What are you thinking about, little maid? Shu Jurqing saw the maid Xiaoyun fell into deep thought, patted her on the shoulder and asked. I'm not making any random guesses. I'm just curious as to why the master suddenly wants to find a Taoist partner for you. Xiaoyun smiled bitterly. Have you figured out any reason? Shu Jurqing asked, giving the maid Xiaoyun a blank look. No, the maid Xiaoyun shook her head decisively. How could she understand the master's thoughts? Suddenly, a loud noise was heard. Quick, catch the thief! Someone shouted. The two girls looked over curiously when they heard this. Catching a thief is not a common thing in the City of Chaos, mainly because the security in the City of Chaos is very good. When the thief was about to run into the alley, a young man suddenly appeared and kicked him in the air, sending him flying. Wow, this man is so handsome! Exclaimed the maid Xiaoyun. Is he handsome? A little bit, indeed. Shu Jurqing looked at the young man. His eyes were a little melancholy and he seemed to be worried about something. However, he was still able to help out in such a situation, which made Shu Jurqing feel a little favorable towards him. There was quite a commotion here, and the police arrived quickly and arrested the thief. The person whose things were stolen thanked the young man again and again, but the young man simply accepted the other party's thanks and turned away. When passing by Shu Jurqing and her maid Xiaoyun, Shu Jurqing said, Sir, please wait a moment. Miss, is there anything wrong? The young man looked at Shu Jurqing with a melancholy expression and said in a gentle voice. Shu Jurqing was stunned by the question and her face flushed. She didn't know why she suddenly became so proactive. This man wasn't that handsome. Could it be that I was attracted by his melancholy eyes just now and wanted to understand him? So she looked at her maid Xiaoyun nervously. The maid Xiaoyun had a good impression of this young man. After receiving the hint from her mistress, she smiled and said, My mistress just saw you doing something righteous and you are a righteous person, so she wanted to meet you. But I don't know your name yet. That's right, sir, what you did is admirable. Shu Jurqing blushed and agreed with a smile. My name is Yang Shan. What I did just now was just a piece of cake. I don't deserve your praise, young lady. Yang Shan said politely. Seeing that Yang Shan looked very calm when facing her, and not like the other young men who looked like they wanted to eat her after seeing her, Shu Jurqing liked Yang Shan even more. But she didn't know that Yang Shan was so calm when facing Shu Jurqing, whose real face could not be seen clearly because he was used to seeing stunning beauties and had been hurt by love and felt disheartened. Mr. Yang, what are you doing in the city of chaos? The maid Xiaoyun saw the look in the young lady's eyes and immediately knew that the young lady had some interest in this young man, so she asked with a smile and acted as a messenger. The maid Xiaoyun was destined to follow the young lady. When the young lady got married, she would naturally go along as a dowry. This young man gives people a very good feeling, he is calm, and his melancholy temperament and righteous demeanor make him very attractive. Instead of letting the young lady marry a man who knows nothing about her, it is better to find someone who has a certain degree of understanding. Me, I've come here from my wanderings. Yang Shan said with a bitter smile, I don't have any purpose. That's true. Ever since he was hit by the powerful strength displayed by Qin Haitian in Fengyan City, his will had become extremely depressed for a time. However, after traveling around recently, his mood has recovered a lot compared to before, because he is not really penniless. The secret book he got before gave him a great life-saving trump card. Moreover, I am still very young, not even 20 years old. In the future, I will definitely become stronger than Qin Haitian from the 100 Swords sect. I can definitely kill him. Although he cheered up a lot, he naturally couldn't be happy when he thought that the woman he liked and the woman he had a relationship with had become Qin Haitian's woman. So, he became like this now, giving people the feeling of being depressed and worried. Sir, you look like a man with a story. I have some wine, can we chat while drinking? At this moment, Shu Jurqing blushed and took the initiative to invite him. Yang Shan gave her a very good impression. She didn't know if it was because of his previous kind gestures that impressed her, or because of his melancholy temperament. In short, she really wanted to get to know him. Yang Shan paused when he heard this, wanting to say something but stopping himself. Naturally, he didn't want to tell his own story, because that would be exposing his wounds to others, which would not have much positive meaning except embarrassment and pain. However, since the beauty had made an appointment with him, he couldn't refuse, but seeing Shu Jurqing's expectant eyes, he sighed quietly. Never mind, maybe telling someone about it would make him feel better. Just when he was about to agree, a voice rang out, I know his story. The voice came suddenly. When Yang Shan heard it, his expression suddenly changed. When Shu Jurqing and the maid Xiaoyun heard the voice, they couldn't help but show unhappy expressions on their faces. Then they looked at the person who came. What caught their eyes was a handsome young man. Compared with Yang Shan, this young man looked much more handsome. But for some reason, looking at the young man's slightly frivolous eyes, the two women frowned slightly, both revealing a look of slight displeasure. Chapter 57 Favorability Penalty Mode opened. Yang Shan looked stiffly at the young man who was looking at him with a half-smile. He was angry, resentful and furious. He really didn't expect to meet his enemy here again. He took a deep breath, put on a forced smile, and said, Yang Shan greets Sect Master Qin. Yes, the person who came was Qin Haitian. Moving forward a little bit in time, after arranging accommodation for the people in the sect, Qin Haitian went out for a stroll. He dared to act alone, firstly, because the city of chaos was not chaotic, and secondly, his cultivation had reached the 8th level of Tongshuan realm, and he had two major means to save his life. But they didn't expect that after just a short stroll, the spectators would see a lively scene, and the protagonist of this scene was Yang Shan. So, he subconsciously used the detector to detect Yang Shan, mainly to see if the other party had obtained the opportunity in the city of chaos. Open black lens bracket. Name: Yang Shan. Close black lens bracket. Age: 20 years old. Cultivation: 1st level of Tongshuan realm. Luck value: 40,000 points. Favorability rating: -100 points. Recent opportunity. Location: City of Chaos. His cultivation level had improved significantly compared to more than a month ago, and he was 1 year older, but nothing else had changed. Is this kid cheating? His cultivation progress is so fast. How did he break through from the 8th level of the Foundation Establishment realm to the 1st level of the Profound Passage realm in just 1 month? Qin Haitian muttered secretly, he really is worthy of being the son of destiny. In comparison, ordinary cultivators with good luck cannot compare to him. The location of his opportunity has not changed. What kind of opportunity will this guy get next? Qin Haitian was wondering what Yang Shan's opportunity was. He saw a figure that was still extremely beautiful even with a veil. Name: Xu Zhiqing. Age: 20 years old. Cultivation: 6th level of Tongshuan realm is perfect. Qualification: 7,145 points. Favorability: none. As for the favorability being none, not zero, Qin Haitian also understood that favorability would only be activated when the other party had a preliminary acquaintance with him. If the other party had never seen him, favorability would naturally not be activated. Just like if he wanted to bind a goddess, he needed to be within his field of vision to bind her, and could not bind her through the air. Seeing Xu Zhiqing and her maid chatting happily with Yang Shan, Qin Haitian's mind flashed with lightning, and a thought emerged: Yang Shan's opportunity place is in the City of Chaos. Could it be that he will become Xu Zhiqing's Taoist partner? This seems to be very possible without my participation. Qin Haitian touched his chin and muttered secretly. Of course, he might not succeed if he took action on his own. It's not that he underestimated other gifted people. He had used detectors to detect the disciples he brought with him and the disciples of the Nanqiang sect whom he had met before. The one with the highest luck value was Li Yujin, the leader of the Nanqiang sect, with 13,000 points. Perhaps no other forces can compare with Yang Shan. Yang Shan has no one behind him now, but his mysterious fate will create opportunities for him. Just like what he saw not long ago, normally no thief would dare to steal things in the City of Chaos at this critical moment, but this incident happened so inexplicably, and the person who was robbed and the thief were not strong, and there were not even any powerful and righteous people around, so Yang Shan became the center of attention and attracted the attention of the simple and kind Xu Zhiqing. Seeing Yang Shan and Xu Zhiqing chatting enthusiastically as master and servant, and even Xu Zhiqing taking the initiative to invite him out, how could Qin Haitian sit still? So he walked up to her, with a frivolous look on his face, and said with a faint smile, "I know his story." Qin Haitian thought he was good at judging people. He knew Xu Zhiqing was a simple and kind-hearted girl. For such a girl, if he approached her with a sunny smile and added his handsome and outstanding appearance, her favorability would soar. This would greatly affect his plan to bind Xu Zhiqing. So, he deliberately used a frivolous look that would offend others. As expected, the moment Xu Zhiqing's favorability was turned on, it fell below zero and reached -30 points. Qin Haitian touched his nose, feeling helpless. Was he really that annoying? Why did he lower the price so much all of a sudden? Couldn't he just lower it a little bit as a token of his appreciation? Bite: I have found the goddess Xu Zhiqing who is suitable for binding. Would you like to bind her? Bind. Qin Haitian didn't hesitate at all. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully binding the 5th goddess. Friendly reminder to the host, the number of bound goddesses has reached 5. From now on, the practice experience penalty mode for favorability below 0 will be activated. The lower the favorability of the bound goddess is below 0, the more severe the penalty for the experience feedback from her practice. For example, if the goddess favorability is -10 points, your practice experience will be forced to be reduced by 10% of the experience feedback from the other party's practice. Qin Haitian was stunned. There were only rewards and no penalties before, but now that only 5 people have been bound, has the penalty mode been turned on. So, before Xu Zhiqing's favorability reached a positive number, the harder she practiced, the lower her cultivation level would be. Of course, it was hard to say, the other 4 goddesses were providing her with positive experience feedback. Xu Zhiqing alone could not resist 8 punches with 2 fists, but this binding was a burden. Therefore, the best way is to increase Xu Zhiqing's favorability as quickly as possible. Seeing that Qin Haitian not only did not reply to Yang Shan's words, but stared at her, Xu Zhiqing felt even more disgusted. It was a waste of a handsome appearance, but he was actually a dirty guy at heart. Yang Shan was a good person, righteous, kind, upright, and helpful. "Miss, I have something urgent to do, so I'll leave first." Yang Shan felt very uncomfortable with Qin Haitian's presence. He bowed to Xu Zhiqing and prepared to leave in a hurry. Xu Zhiqing was very angry, of course, because Qin Haitian had interrupted their chat for no reason. She took out an invitation from her storage ring, suppressed her anger towards Qin Haitian, and handed it to Yang Shan who was about to leave. "My father's birthday is in 2 days, and I hope Mr. Yang can come to see him. If I have time, I will definitely go." Yang Shan took the invitation, forced a smile, and then hurried away. "Xiao Yun, let's go. Shu Zhiqing glared at Qin Haitian fiercely, said something to the maid Xiao Yun, and prepared to leave. But then everything went dark before their eyes, and they saw that nasty person standing in front of them. Get out of the way. Shu Zhiqing said angrily, gritting her teeth. Miss, don't you want to know the story of that young Master Yang? I know everything. How about we find a place and continue your unfinished proposal? Let's drink and chat at the same time. Qin Haitian asked, showing a self-proclaimed kind smile, looking at the angry Shu Zhiqing. I don't want to know. Shu Zhiqing said coldly. In fact, she wanted to know, but she wanted to hear Yang Shan tell her, not the annoying guy in front of her, because she had no good feelings towards Qin Haitian at all. Get out of the way quickly and don't block my young lady's way, otherwise I will call someone and it will be too late for you to regret it. The maid Xiao Yun looked at Qin Haitian with a proud face. She was submissive in front of the young lady because she was her breadwinner. Outsiders. Oh, in the city of chaos, there was no outsider worthy of her compromise. Qin Haitian's expression froze slightly. Chapter 58. The flowers have feelings but the water is merciless. Qin Haitian looked at Shu Zhiqing holding up her skirt and the maid Xiao Yun without even looking at her, and trotted away as if he were a monster. It was a bit funny, but he didn't feel frustrated or angry. Interesting. Qin Haitian touched his nose. The previous method can no longer be used. In fact, this is normal. Shu Zhiqing is the daughter of the Lord of Chaos City, and Lord Shu is suspected to be in the Four Symbols realm. She has enough confidence and self-confidence. She must even have many treasures given by her father. If anyone dares to threaten her life, she will definitely detonate her trump card. Once detonated, Lord Shu will definitely arrive here soon. Since some of the previous methods don't work, let's change the plan. In 2 days, City Lord Shu will celebrate his birthday. Qin Haitian whispered to himself, the result will be clear then. A confident smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Is he powerless? No, he has prepared other means. He is not going to give up Shu Zhiqing. First, he is already bound to her. Second, if he cannot form a Taoist couple with Shu Zhiqing, his cultivation will be reduced to the first level of Tongshuan realm. Third, if Shu Zhiqing forms a Taoist couple with another man, his favorability will not be able to be increased to a positive number. Then he will have an extra burden. After Yang Shan separated from Shu Zhiqing, he returned to his room in the inn. His face was extremely gloomy. If he had not heard that there was a grand event in the City of Chaos recently, he would have been ready to leave Qingzhou and venture into other states, until he had learned enough and then came back for revenge. But when he came here this time, he didn't expect that he would meet someone he hated so much. He was breathing heavily, his eyes were red. If looks could kill, the person he saw would have been torn into pieces. Suddenly, he thought of something, and when he flipped his hand, the invitation card that Shu Zhiqing had given him appeared in his hand. Looking at the introduction on the invitation, Yang Shan was stunned. City Lord's Mansion. Yang Shan whispered to himself, according to the news I heard in recent days, almost all the top forces in Qingzhou have come to visit City Lord Shu. That's because City Lord Shu is the #1 expert in Qingzhou. In addition to celebrating City Lord Shu's birthday, these forces also have another reason, which is that City Lord Shu is planning to find a genius as a Taoist partner for his daughter Shu Zhiqing. Thinking of this, Yang Shan's eyes suddenly became hot. Could that woman not long ago be the City Lord's daughter Shu Zhiqing? It should be. I should have thought of it. Even with the veil, her temperament and figure are so extraordinary. She is still so young, and her cultivation is stronger than mine. Moreover, she is disdainful of Qin Haitian. Who else could it be if not the City Lord's daughter? Damn Qin Haitian, you ruined my good things. Yang Shan couldn't help gritting his teeth when he thought of this. Yang Shan took a deep breath to suppress the complicated thoughts in his mind, and calmly analyzed. Shu Zhiqing asked me to drink, it seems that she likes me very much. And her attitude towards Qin Haitian is very bad. Although I ran away, in her heart, her good impression of me should not decrease, but she will be dissatisfied with Qin Haitian. But it's hard to say, because that bastard has too many tricks. Shaner, senior sister, and master were all framed by his schemes, weren't they? Otherwise, how could they become the Taoist partners of this bastard? Yang Shan's eyes flickered. I must go there in 2 days. And I must find a way to make a splash. Yang Shan took a deep breath. But compared to those geniuses, what advantages do I have? When he thought of this, he couldn't help but frown. After all, he had been expelled from the sect and was no longer considered a member of the 100 Swords sect. Suddenly, Yang Shan thought of something and whispered to himself, Moyue sect, the leader of the Moyue sect has extended an olive branch to me before. Although I don't like the leader of the Moyue sect, I can use him. I think he will definitely not refuse me to become his disciple. Because he also wants to kill Qin Haitian as soon as possible. In this respect, we have the same goal. Thinking of this, Yang Shan calmed down, left the inn, and went to inquire about the whereabouts of the Demon Moon sect. This was not difficult to find out, and not long after, he found out the location of the Demon Moon sect. Bai Shangfeng, the leader of the Demon Moon sect, actually didn't want to come to this event because a few days ago, he led more than a dozen cultivators in the Star Sea realm to ambush Qin Haitian but failed, causing heavy losses to the sect. Although the Supreme Elders did not punish him, he was still a little too embarrassed to see anyone. However, he had to come to City Lord Shu's 300th birthday, because if they don't take it seriously, they are worried that it will arouse the anger of City Lord Shu. Moreover, if City Lord Shu's daughter is married to someone from other hostile sects, especially the 100 Swords sect, it will be a heavy blow to the Demon Moon sect. Master, there is a young man outside who claims to be Yang Shan and wants to see you. An elder reported. Yang Shan, let him in, Bai Shangfeng said with a flash in his eyes. Time flies and 2 days have passed. City Lord's mansion. In the boudoir, Xu Zhiqing was dressing herself up. Xiao Yun, do you think Yang Shan will come to the house today? Xu Zhiqing asked Xiao Yun, the maid who was combing her hair, while she was dressing up. He will definitely come. If he doesn't, it would be really ungrateful. Xiao Yun, the maid, said confidently. What do you mean you don't know how to appreciate my kindness if I don't come? Hearing this, Xu Zhiqing said speechlessly, didn't you see that he looked depressed? Maybe it's because he's not in the mood. If he has a little bit of brains, he can guess the lady's identity. If he doesn't come, it means he has no interest in you. In this case, the lady doesn't have to put her heart on him. Said the maid Xiao Yun with a laugh. Xu Zhiqing fell silent after hearing this. 2. It is said that fallen flowers are affectionate but flowing water is indifferent, and there is no reason to force others to do so. Moreover, she hopes that the relationship is a two-way one, rather than a one-sided one. By the way, miss, didn't you always say that you wanted to find a poetic man? Why did you fall for that Yang Shan? The maid Xiao Yun asked curiously while dressing the miss. Although she had a certain fondness for Yang Shan 2 days ago, after 2 days, she felt that Yang Shan was just so-so, not as good as she thought before, and not even as impressive as that frivolous man. Look at his melancholy eyes, isn't it a poem? Xu Zhiqing said softly, besides, men with stories seem more attractive. Okay, the maid Xiao Yun was helpless. It seemed that her mistress was infatuated with that guy Yang Shan. Chapter 59, The Scroll Gift shocked the city lord. Xu Zhiqing naturally heard the helplessness in Xiao Yun's words. She opened her mouth and said, also, I just admire young master Yang Shan. It's hard to say whether he is a good match for you. After all, we only know him once. Don't say I like him. I understand. The maid Xiao Yun agreed, that's what I mean. Young lady is deciding a lifelong event. You can't compromise just because you're touched at the moment. That would be irresponsible for your whole life. Of course I understand, Xu Zhiqing said softly. She didn't know how many young talents would come to her father's birthday party today, but based on what her father said, she had to choose one, and it would be best if the one was a disciple from one of the 8 major sects in Qingzhou. Even if not, one still has to choose from those 9th grade sects. She didn't know why her father did this, but she could feel that he seemed to be in a hurry. She could only accept it because once her father made a decision, it would be difficult for her to change it. By the way, which sect does Yang Shan belong to? Xu Zhiqing asked. The person who inquired didn't say anything. The maid Xiao Yun said, it seems that he is not famous. Of course, it may be that the time is too short, and Yang Shan is less than 20 years old, so he may not be really famous yet. First, the people in the city lord's mansion have been busy with birthday preparations recently, and second, Yang Shan's fame is only relatively well known among the 100 Swords sect, and he is not the most famous one. Okay then, Xu Zhiqing was a little disappointed when she heard that. The reason why she mentioned Yang Shan many times was mainly because she had a certain favorable impression of Yang Shan. If she could choose, she still hoped that Yang Shan could show more extraordinary qualities. Once he caught his father's eye, she could say a few words to him and maybe it would work. By the way, Miss, I have found out that the sect leader Qin that Yongshan mentioned is the leader of the Baijian sect. Said the maid Xiaoyun. What? That man is the sect leader? Xu Zhiqing was dumbfounded. That guy who didn't look like a good person was actually the leader of a sect. Is there no one left in the Baijian sect? The city lord's mansion was decorated with lights and colors. One force after another came to the door, outside the gate of the city lord's mansion. The MC kept singing and shouting, announcing which forces had arrived and what gifts they had presented. The person in charge of hosting the birthday banquet was naturally not City Lord Shu himself, but his master, who was also the steward of the city lord's mansion, named Dan Chusheng. Meet Master Dan. Every leader of a force who came to celebrate the birthday was quite respectful when they saw Dan Chusheng who was receiving them, because although Dan Chusheng's fame was not as great as City Lord Shu's, his influence was indeed not weak. I didn't know before I met him, but now that I see him, I feel that he is unfathomable. Qin Haitian naturally came to visit with people from the sect. Name: Dan Chusheng. Age: 419. Cultivation: the third heaven of the four symbols realm. Likability rating: 7. When Qin Haitian saw the relevant information from the other party, he almost bit off his tongue. Many people speculated that the steward of the Shu mansion was a top-level Taoist master. Qin Haitian also thought so before, but when he saw him this time, he couldn't help but gasp. The third level of the four symbols realm. This level of cultivation was far beyond Qin Haitian's previous expectations. Even a housekeeper is so strong, then City Lord Shu must be at the four symbols realm. Qin Haitian secretly sighed in his heart. I wonder if the destruction of Baihua Palace is related to City Lord Shu. After all, the old palace master of Baihua Palace is also at the four symbols realm. In Qingzhou, perhaps the only ones who have the ability to destroy Baihua Palace are City Master Shu or this Dan Chusheng, right? Of course, this was just his guess, and he didn't know the details. Dan Chusheng felt as if he was being spied on. His eyebrows slightly raised, and he couldn't help but look at Qin Haitian. He saw through Qin Haitian's cultivation level at a glance, which was the 8th level of Tongshuan realm. Isn't it said that the master of the Baijian sect has reached the perfect Xinghai realm? How come his cultivation is so low? Also, I felt like I was spied on just now. Was it this little guy who did it? Judging from his eyes, it seems not. Dan Chusheng muttered secretly in his heart, but he smiled faintly on his face. Master Qin, please come in. Okay, Senior Dan. Qin Haitian smiled respectfully, then presented his gift and led his disciples into the city lord's mansion. Dan Chusheng was playing with the rolled-up scroll in his hands, with a look of surprise on his face. Compared to other forces that sent valuable treasures, this was the first time he had seen a gift like a scroll. Moreover, he liked painting, poetry, songs and other things that could cultivate people's sentiments. Even many of Xu Zhiqing's achievements in music, chess, calligraphy and painting were taught by him personally. Dan Chusheng did not put the scroll together with the other gifts, but called the steward of the city lord's mansion to entertain the guests, and he went straight into the city lord's mansion. The only ones worthy of his personal reception are the 8 major sects. And the 8 major sects, without exception, were the first to arrive. After all, the more they knew about City Lord Shu's power, the more they valued City Lord Shu's banquet. Naturally, they would not wait until later, otherwise it would be too inconsiderate and they would not give City Lord Shu face. But they were worried that City Lord Shu would keep an eye on them. The City Lord's study. City Lord Shu is a middle-aged man with a kind face, who looks very elegant and easygoing. Sir. Dan Chusheng walked in from outside and called softly. Have all the people from the 8 major sects arrived? City Lord Shu asked without even raising his head. While speaking, he continued to paint on the rice paper. Ever since City Lord Shu achieved perfection in the four symbols realm, he has taken a liking to painting, because painting can cultivate one's sentiments, calm one's mind, and allow one to look at spiritual practice with a normal mind. Everyone is here. Dan Chusheng nodded. In that case, let's go. City Lord Shu said as he prepared to get up. Sir, don't rush over. There is a good thing here. Take a look. Dan Chusheng said as he took out the gift scroll that Qin Haitian had given him. Is there anything special about your scroll? City Lord Shu looked at Dan Chusheng and asked calmly. He had collected some poems, songs, scrolls and other things, but it seemed rare that Dan Chusheng attached so much importance to them. Sir, if you take a look at this scroll, you will be absolutely amazed. Dan Chusheng said with excitement on his face. Oh, hearing you say that, I'm actually looking forward to it. City Lord Shu unfolded the scroll, and as soon as he took a look, an expression of amazement immediately appeared on his face. Painting? Can it be painted like this? City Lord Shu exclaimed. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it before. Dan Chu Sheng said with emotion on his face. He had not originally thought of coming to see the City Lord, but after unfolding the scroll and reading it, he couldn't wait to come here. He believed that this scroll would be of great benefit not only to himself, but also to City Lord Shu. Chapter 60 Shu Zhiqing's Prejudice. The cultivators at the Daotai realm have just begun to understand the Tao, while the cultivators at the Sixiong realm have reached another, deeper level in their comprehension of the Tao. At this time, if a cultivator in the Four Symbols realm wants to break through, each level will be more difficult. In such a situation, many cultivators in the Four Symbols realm will seek other ways to learn by analogy so that they can get a chance to break through. This is also the reason why City Lord Shu and Dan Chu Sheng chose to pursue the path of painting. The painting Qin Haitian presented was a sketch. Qin Haitian had never seen such a painting in this world. As a friend of women, he often dealt with women. Different women liked different characteristics in men. Qin Haitian was able to cope with the characteristics of almost every woman, mainly because he had an extraordinary learning ability. For example, if there is a rich girl who likes painting, Qin Haitian will cater to her interests and work hard to improve his painting skills. Isn't this a common language between them? Qin Haitian's paintings cannot be compared with those of some top painters, but compared with ordinary painters, they are not only not worse but even better. He has also won many awards, and he has brought this talent to this world. Even because of his cultivation now, his soul is much stronger than before, and his painting skills have become much stronger. He has reached the level of a great painter. The sketch amazed City Lord Shu and Dan Chusheng. This poem is also good. City Lord Shu said with a sigh, I have been sharpening my sword for 10 years, but I have never tried the frosty blade. Today I show it to you, who would be dissatisfied? This calligraphy and this poem are truly unique. Yes, Dan Chusheng stroked his beard and echoed. Just as the two were discussing, a voice sounded outside the study, Daddy, can I come in? Chinger is here, come in, City Lord Shu said in the study room. Soon, a woman in a green dress walked into the study. Chinger, is there something you need? City Lord Shu looked at his daughter who entered the study and asked with a smile on his face. To be honest, he doted on his daughter, but he had to go back to Zhongzhou and had to marry his daughter off because once she went back, she might die. This is a helpless move. But he couldn't say it, otherwise his daughter would definitely live in fear. Father, you are looking for a Taoist partner for me today. Can I put forward my own ideas? For example, you can give me a rough range and I will choose a suitable one from it. Shu Zhiqing said, pursing her lips. Of course. Upon hearing this, City Lord Shu was stunned for a moment, then smiled and nodded. After all, this is to find a Taoist partner for you, so I have to consult your opinion anyway. Hearing this, Shu Zhiqing secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Since her father had said so, if she could praise Yang Shan a few more times, maybe. As for Yang Shan's poor performance, she felt that it shouldn't be the case. Could her vision be so bad? She herself didn't believe it. Then I'm leaving, Shu Zhiqing said with a smile. She was about to leave when she suddenly saw the sketch on the desk. Huh, this painting, this poem. Shu Zhiqing's eyes showed a look of amazement, and she walked forward again and again. Father, what kind of painting is this? Why have I never seen it before? Is this the painting technique you just learned? Looking at his shocked daughter, City Lord Shu smiled and said, no, this is a gift from someone else. Who sent it? Shu Zhiqing's eyes lit up and she asked repeatedly. At this moment, a figure appeared in her mind, Yang Shan. If it is him, then doesn't that mean he and I are a match made in heaven? Because she likes poetry, songs, calligraphy and painting more than spiritual practice, she naturally hopes that her other half will also have extraordinary attainments in this aspect. City Lord Shu hesitated for a moment and said, this painting was given to me by Qin Haitian, the leader of the Baijian sect. It's him. How could it be him? Shu Zhiqing was stunned, her whole body was like a wooden chicken. After learning from the maid that Qin Haitian was the leader of the Baijian sect, she felt it was absurd. A guy who didn't look like a good person should not be the leader of the Baijian sect. But now, knowing that this man actually gave away such a treasure, it was naturally unbelievable. Chinger, do you know Qin Haitian? City Lord Shu asked suspiciously when he saw that his daughter's expression was not right. I know him, he's not a good person. Shu Zhiqing gritted her teeth and said, This painting is definitely not made by him. He must have heard that people in our family like painting, so he catered to their tastes. Yes, at first glance, he is a flatterer. Maybe he was able to become the leader of the 100 Swords sect by flattering people. Hearing Xu Zhiqing's words, City Lord Shu and Dan Chusheng were shocked. Qinger, could it be that Qin Haitian did something to you? City Lord Shu asked with a frown. If not, why would his daughter have such a strong grudge against Qin Haitian? As for whether the two had met before, City Lord Shu believed that they had definitely met before. He knew that his daughter often sneaked out, but he did not care. After all, his daughter had many life-saving trump cards given by him, and her own strength was not bad either. Xu Zhiqing was stunned when her father asked this. After thinking about it carefully, it seems that Qin Haitian has not done anything bad to me. He just tried to chat with me and I rejected him. You didn't sneak out, got hit on by him, and then developed a bad feeling towards him, did you? City Lord Shu said unhappily when he saw his daughter's stunned expression. Yes, but I don't think he is a good person. Xu Zhiqing gritted her teeth. Qinger, you can't deny a person just because someone approaches you. City Lord Shu said helplessly. Seeing that his daughter was a little childish, he felt a little worried. He took such good care of his daughter that he was really worried that once he left Qingzhou, who would still spoil her. Therefore, taking advantage of his birthday this time, he must carefully choose a suitable man who can protect his daughter. Xu Zhiqing pursed her lips, feeling a little dissatisfied, and then said, Father, I said Qin Haitian is not a good person, but you don't believe me, so why don't we make a bet? What bet? City Lord Shu looked at his daughter with interest. I feel that Qin Haitian is not a good person. He may have gotten this painting and this poem from somewhere. They are not his own works. Xu Zhiqing said confidently, if this is confirmed, I will make the decision on choosing a Taoist partner today. Otherwise, I will listen to you, father. How do you think? Of course, City Lord Shu agreed with a smile, and then asked again after a pause, but have you figured out how to verify it?